This dude is on our side. While walking down the street, he pulled a gotcha and got a god demon tier, an SSS rank with an insanely low drop rate. He was so hyped he started jumping for joy, dancing on the street like a total madman. Then he accidentally hopped right into the middle of the road, and just like that, Truck-kun hit him another KPI checked. He was immediately isekai'd into the world of the very game he was playing. But out of all things to reincarnate into, he ended up as a metal warrior, the trashiest character. In the game defined by having absolutely no traits, he thought his life had hit rock bottom, stuck in the trenches. But he said hell no. He's a veteran gamer who spent 25 hours a day grinding the game. The reason the metal warrior has no traits is because they can create an infinite number of them. He stabs his own hand and instantly awakens. The super regeneration trait. While scavenging through trash, he gains the immunity trait. Even picking up a coin grants him a new trait. And the best part about the metal warrior is the ability to combine these traits together as one. Combining 3 makes him turn into a Hulk-like giant. Combining all 6 turns him into an unstoppable god-tier demon. And it's all Gucci. Enough yapping, let's get into it. Once the gods had died, humanity only worshipped gold and revered mysterious technology. In the end, they turned themselves into slaves. Is this fair? Does any of this even matter? The best modern post-apocalyptic fantasy game, Ascension. A young man named Kim Jun-soo is a 22-year-old university student. He's got his face buried in his phone screen, looking absolutely livid and cussing out. This trash pay-to-win game. Is this for real? How are broke? Free-to-play players like me supposed to play this? The owner of the account that defeated him immediately started trolling him. For a F2P scrub like you that's already pretty good, what more do you want? But man, you're really trash. Seriously, I've been using auto mode this whole time. Kim Jun-soo shouted in anger, you son of a bitch! The guy kept trolling him, but it's actually pretty fun though. I've never seen a F2P player who plays as well as you do. At the same time, he controlled his character to land a crushing blow on Kim Jun-soo's character, making him so mad he was literally shaking and cussing again. This freaking bastard. Right after that, he threw both hands up and screamed in frustration, losing to a whale who just dropped 10K. Is there any fairness left in gaming? Is this even a game? More like a gambling simulator with OP characters. After his rage cooled down, Jun-soo still gripped his phone tightly and kept walking forward, but he didn't stop talking smack. I'm such an idiot for wasting my time on this piece of trash game. Better finish the dailies so I can get to my homework. A guy with no friends, doing daily quests no matter what. Even so, this free pull will probably just give me another metal warrior. Then he tapped on that free gotcha pull. Unlike all the previous times, things were looking up for Kim Jun-soo this time. He received a platinum chest. Without a second thought, he hit the open button. His face was full of anxiety, with sweat dripping down his forehead. Suddenly, he erupted in pure hype. What the hell is this? I actually pulled the heavenly demon from just a free pull, no way? Holy crap, are you kidding me? It's really the heavenly demon, the strongest character in the game. I heard the drop rate for him in a free pull is only 0.06%. Unable to contain his absolute joy, Kim Jun-soo started dancing wildly in the street, ignoring all the weird looks from people passing by, and shouted out, let's go, I actually got the heavenly demon. Woohoo, time to max out this heavenly demon. I can level up by hunting mobs. But the fastest way to upgrade characters in Ascension. At the same time, he opened up his character collection list. Then he cackled and continued, which is using other characters as XP fodder. I don't have to envy those pay-to-win whales anymore. I'll use all these metal warriors to upgrade my heavenly demon. Peace out, metal warriors. I am now the master of the heavenly demon. Suddenly, a truck came barreling toward him like crazy, at a breakneck speed. Inside the truck's cabin, the driver was slumped over the steering wheel, causing the vehicle to lurch faster and faster toward Kim Jun-soo's position. He pointed at the truck and asked blankly, what the? Wait, why does this look so familiar? Then his eyes snapped open. Kim Jun-soo panicked when he realized he was lying on a bed in some hospital, with a bandage wrapped around his head and one of his legs completely encased in a cast. He bolted up, wondering what was going on. Why am I in the hospital? Ignoring the splitting headache, he tried to piece his memories back together. Right before this, a truck was driving like a maniac, heading straight for him. Kim Jun-soo cried out in shock. That's right, I got hit by a truck. While he was still dazed, a beautiful nurse suddenly walked in and asked, Metal Warrior, you're finally awake. Kim Jun-soo jumped, what Metal Warrior? The nurse hurriedly turned away and said, wait a second, I'll go get the doctor right away. Kim Jun-soo wondered suspiciously, what is this? Why did she call me Metal Warrior? Thinking fast, Kim Jun-soo immediately looked at the chart at the foot of his bed. It also said Metal Warrior on it, dislocation and concussion due to accident. Holding the chart in his hands and reading it over and over, Kim Jun-soo still couldn't believe what was happening. He thought to himself, is this some kind of glitch? Then he swung his legs down to the floor, sighed, and said, "Ugh, I felt so guilty for turning all those metal warriors into XP fodder for the heavenly demon. But turning into Metal Warrior Kim, how is that even possible?" At the same time, he started to shift his weight down onto his heavily bandaged legs, attempting to stand up, when a piercing pain like lightning bolts exploding crackled through his head, followed by screams that echoed throughout the entire hospital ward. Hearing the loud wailing, the beautiful nurse rushed in to warn Metal Warrior Kim, "You shouldn't be moving yet." Kim Junsu shook his head violently in pain, clutching his injured leg, and hollering, "Oh, damn it! It hurts so much I'm gonna die." Then a doctor walked in and said with a smile, "You were hit by a truck. Luckily, it's just minor injuries, but we still need to run more tests. You need an MRI and a magical vision checkup." Kim Junsu asked back in surprise, "Magical? Magical what now?" Then he thought to himself, Metal Warrior Kim. Magical? What the hell are they talking about? A while later at the reception desk, an employee, a cashier, was typing away rapidly with her fingers on the computer as she announced, "Room fees facility charges MRI, X-rays and other miscellaneous costs. The total comes to 2,370,001. Hearing such a huge amount left Kim Junsu standing there on crutches, utterly speechless for a moment, before he forced an awkward smile and asked, "Wait, what? I was only here for 4 days and it's over 2 million. Is there some kind of mistake?" The clerk cheerfully explained, "You don't have insurance, so you have to cover the entire cost out of pocket." Kim Junsu laughed in disbelief and snapped back, "What? How could I not have insurance? Every Korean citizen has health insurance." The clerk scratched her head, looking totally confused, and asked him back, "What is health insurance? You don't have Legion insurance or Magic Tower insurance." "Right." Kim Junsu hurriedly shouted, "Legion Magic Tower. What the hell are you talking about?" As if remembering something, Junsu lowered his head and thought to himself, "Wait, I remember hearing these terms before. Where did I hear them from? The Legion, the High Council. The Magic Tower, the Holy Order. This is the setting of Ascension Soul. In a world where God has abandoned humanity, occult science has advanced exponentially. The earth is polluted and crawling with monsters. Humans must augment their bodies just to survive." Walking down the busy streets, Junsu still didn't want to believe his reality. He clutched his head and wailed miserably. Basically, this is a world where it's incredibly hard to stay alive. And I actually got isekai'd into this place, taking heavy steps down the street, with only a crutch for company. Kim Junsu couldn't help but blame himself. "I went to sleep happy that I got the heavenly demon, but I ended up as a tutorial fodder character. Maybe this is divine punishment for farming all those Metal Warrior Kims." Opening the door to a room, Kim Junsu said disappointedly, "This room is even crustier than my old apartment. Why is Metal Warrior Kim so broke?" Then he walked over to the raggedy bed, slumped down and pulled his hair in frustration, crying out, "Damn it, my body is wrecked and I'm flat broke. What am I supposed to do now? Wait, if this really is Ascension, then events like the nuclear war, the dimensional rifts, and the resurrection of the ancient gods will happen soon." He looked exhausted, collapsing onto the bed while thinking, "Then this place is going to turn into a total hellhole. I don't know how I got here, but if I just sit still, I'm 100% dead. Wait a minute." Immediately after, Kim Junsu bolted up and grabbed a ballpoint pen. He went to the desk and placed one hand on it, while raising the pen with the other. With a look of sheer hesitation on his face, he encouraged himself, "I need to check this before it's too late." Then he slowly tightened his grip on the pen. His expression grew more determined. Using all his strength, he stabbed his own hand hard, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Then he pulled the pen out with a pained grimace. At that moment, flows of blue magical light began to radiate from the wound, and gradually, miraculously caused the injury to heal. As if he had expected this outcome all along, Kim Junsu cracked an excited smile and thought, "I knew it would work." Right after that, a notification window popped up right in front of Junsu, displaying the acquired trait. "You have acquired the trait Wound Recovery 1, Kim Junsu thought. "The reason I raised countless Metal Warrior Kims, Metal Warrior Kim is a free trial character, the only character with no base traits. However, just as I can unlock traits and swap them out, I can build Metal Warrior Kims with more freedom than any other character. For a strategic player like me, Metal Warrior Kim is more useful than rare characters, meaning since I'm Metal Warrior Kim now." At the same time, Kim Junsu dropped all the bandages wrapped around his body to the floor. Then the notification window appeared again. "Wound recovery I activated. Recovering all injuries sustained until now." Kim Junsu smiled happily and thought, "I can obtain any trait I want, as long as I can earn it." In the world of the game Ascension, being poor and powerless equals death, or if you're just unlucky. But I won't let that happen. I'm going to survive. I have the knowledge from wasting 10,000 hours on this game Ascension, back when I was a hardcore grinder, and I have the body of Metal Warrior Kim. The scene shifts to an office somewhere. A middle-aged man with a scruffy beard, with a half-finished cigarette hanging from his mouth, asked Metal Warrior Kim in a voice full of surprise. "You mean this is your first time coming to our player recruitment office?" Kim Junsu replied. "Yes, I'm planning to join the mana purification project." Meanwhile, he sighed and thought to himself, "In a trashy game like this, I have to secure some cash first. Since I only have this damn body, the only thing I can do is hustle for a big payout." Immediately, the man put his feet up on the desk and asked back with a cocky look. "It might be called mana purification, but do you actually understand what dungeon raiding really entails?" He was Director Choi of the player recruitment office. Kim Junsu quickly rubbed his head and scratched his ear, replying shyly, "Oh yes, I'm aware." Director Choi scolded him. "You're aware? Then why the hell is your resume completely blank?" Kim Junsu gave a smug smile and thought, "Of course I know how crappy and bottom tier this job really is. Mana waste is the reason monsters were able to invade Ascension. Dungeon raiding is basically the act of cleaning up the trash. That leaks out massive amounts of mana waste. Long-term exposure to mana can be fatal, or even cause mutations. And that is exactly why this job is incredibly dangerous." After thinking for a while, Director Choi made his decision and told him, "Fine. As soon as we have enough people, I'll assign you to a team." Kim Junsu happily replied, "Oh, that's great, thank you so much." Directly after Director Choi's expression soured, he looked up and asked, "But are you sure about this? I've seen countless people like you walk in here for the money, only to end up with their souls completely hollowed out." Kim Junsu turned his head back, and with an eerie smile he replied, "Don't worry, I might actually be built for this." Director Choi, unable to believe his ears, asked again, "What did you just say?" Kim Junsu walked away with a smug laugh and replied, "Grinding like crazy is what I do. Playing as a freelancer is my specialty after all." A few days later, upon receiving the notification from Director Choi, Kim Junsu hurriedly went to report to his team. Standing before him now was the labor supervisor. Hyodai asked with a look of pure rage, "What, you're the new rookie assigned to our squad?" Kim Junsu replied with a dazed look, Yeah, I guess so. I'm just here because I was assigned to this team." Hyodai immediately grabbed Kim Junsu by the collar and barked angrily, "Hey, you think this is some kind of playground? Where's the grit in your eyes? You'd better not beg me to save you once you start mutating. If I catch even the slightest sign of mutation, I'll kill you myself." Kim Junsu acted submissive and replied, "All right, I'll keep that in mind." Meanwhile, he thought to himself, "Hazazing the newbie, huh? Whether in-game or in real life, everything's pretty much the same, isn't it? But wait, why is an R-rank character like Hyodai here?" So this is what he looked like before his awakening. Even his legs look normal. Suddenly, a blonde guy ran over from out of nowhere and said frantically, "Gosh, Hyodai!" There's no need to go that hard on the rookie. From my 5 years of experience cleaning dungeons, we're already short-handed, so we should take all the help we can get. Hyodai let go of him. He brushed Kim Junsu off and replied, "Gojino, that only applies if he can actually be useful." Then he walked indifferently toward the other teammates and sneered, "Just look at him, guys. We'll be lucky if he doesn't cause us any trouble. All right, we have exactly 4 days to clean up 5 contaminated areas. Let's move it." Kim Junsu muttered angrily, "That jerk. He's even more of a pain in the ass than in the game." Seeing the tension, Gojino rushed over and patted Kim Junsu on the shoulder and encouraged him warmly, "Don't mind him. He might seem like a hard ass on the outside, but he's actually a good guy." Kim Junsu immediately put on a submissive face and replied, "Oh yes." Then the whole group moved to the entrance of a dungeon. Their glowing green liquids were slowly seeping out through every crack in the door. It gave off a foul stench that made everyone plug their noses. A man in a vest spoke up. "Something smells like it's rotting. I can never get used to this smell." Hyodai stepped closer to the door, turned his head back and barked an order. "I'm opening the door. Everyone get ready." Right after that, Hyodai pressed the button. As the door swung open, the green liquids quickly surged toward their position. By now, everyone had taken their stances, ready for the fight. Hyodai reminded everyone, "Get into position." Before them were low-level monsters, contaminated slimes. While everyone was charging forward, Kim Junsu suddenly hesitated, thinking the basics of cleaning up mana waste, or dealing with contaminated monsters, contaminated slimes. Even though they're weak, the reason they're a pain is that they won't die until you find the mana core inside their bodies. Snapping out of his thoughts, Kim Junsu quickly shouted, "Find their mana cores." One of the men replied, "Damn it! How are we supposed to find them?" Kim Junsu warned them, "If this drags on, we're all going to get infected by the mana." Right after saying that, Kim Junsu immediately charged forward like a madman. He shouted, "Get back!" At the same time, Kim Junsu leaped high into the air, startling the short-haired man who turned around, gaping in shock. As he saw Kim Junsu soaring right over his head, with a shovel aimed straight down, stabbing directly into the slime monster, with terrifying force, scaring the absolute crap out of the short-haired man. Instantly, the monster vanished, leaving behind a mana stone that gleamed with a bright yellow light. The short-haired man, still in a total panic, lay on the ground crying out in terror. Kim Junsu broke into a satisfied smile. He turned back to the short-haired guy and said, "Perfect, that was a nice warm-up, wasn't it?" Meanwhile, the short-haired guy was still trembling on the ground, with zero wasted movement. Kim Junsu dashed instantly from his spot, charging straight at the monsters, slashing wildly from left to right, tracing elegant, beautiful arcs through the air. Everywhere he slashed mana beads, came raining down, leaving the rest of the crew in total shock. A guy in a white shirt watched with his jaw dropped. Pointing at Kim Junsu, he stammered, What the hell is that?" He wiped out all those slimes in a single burst. "How is that even possible?" Kim Junsu chuckled and exclaimed, "Of course it's possible." Flashing back to 2 days ago, Kim Junsu was crawling around on the ground, with a look of intense focus, ignoring the skeptical and mocking stares of passers-by. Kim Junsu was desperately searching for something. After crawling around for a while, it seemed he had found it. He rushed over to pick it up and said, "Found it." It was a 501 coin. Immediately, Kim Junsu's notification window popped up. Attribute Collection 1010. You have acquired the Treasure Hunter attribute. Kim Junsu let out a joyful shout. Yes, finally found it. The most critical attribute for Kim's warrior, Treasure Hunt. Holding the coin in his hand, Kim Junsu couldn't contain his excitement. He jumped around and screamed, 501, I finally found it. At the same time, a mother covered her son's eyes and said, "Oh my God, close your eyes, sweetie, fast." Before anything else happened, before going out to slay monsters, Kim Junsu had learned a few vital principles. While gathering some necessary attributes, the antitoxin attribute, first collecting attributes here, is just like in the game. As long as I meet certain conditions, I'm good. Second, Kim Junsu can acquire a total of 6 attributes. Strong antitoxin, ultimate treasure hunting. Kim Junsu can swap back and forth between attributes whenever he wants to return to the present. Right now, Kim Junsu is driving his shovel straight into the monster's body, thinking that, thanks to his attribute, he can see the mana core. Immediately, the monster explodes into pieces, splattering foul liquid all over them. Seeing this, Hode quickly warned everyone to be careful. Don't get hurt. Out of that slimy mess, Kim Junsu stepped out, covered in goop, smiling with satisfaction as he spoke. Looks like my hard work is finally paying off. Haha! Warrior Kim's work ethic is absolutely cracked. The notification window popped up again. Antitoxin attribute activated. You are now resistant to contaminated mana. By now it was late into the night. The bus was bustling, welcoming the last few passengers. Kim Junsu sat on the bus looking exhausted, thinking to himself, even with support attributes, grinding all day is seriously draining. Suddenly, Go Jinho walked up smiling cheerfully. Wow, we got off early today, all thanks to you. Surprised, Kim Junsu blurted out, Oh, hey, Jinho-si. Jinho quickly sat down beside him and said, Just by looking at you, I can tell you're the real deal. Are you waiting to awaken like Hode? Kim Junsu gave a friendly smile and replied, Not really. I just know how to work because of my military experience. Jinho grinned ear to ear and praised him. If that's the case, you're seriously talented. Looking at the man in front of him, Kim Junsu thought to himself, This guy? The signs of mutation around him are getting pretty bad. Looks like he's been exposed to way too much contaminated mana. Snapping back from his thoughts, Kim Junsu turned and asked Jinho, Hey, you don't look so good. Why don't you take tomorrow off? Gojinho hurriedly waved his hands and replied, What? No way, I'd rather face a mutation than deal with those debt collectors. Hearing those words, Kim Junsu thought that makes sense. There aren't many other reasons why anyone would choose to do this kind of work. 4 days later, somewhere else. They were doing the same daily grind they always did. Kim Junsu lightly raised his hand, wiping away the sweat on his face, and said, Finally, it's all finished. Meanwhile, 2 of his colleagues were showing strange symptoms. Kim Junsu glanced back at them and thought, Everyone looks totally wiped out. After cleaning up all day, a pile of slime was shoveled away. Gojinho, with an angry expression, wiped off the last of the residue and muttered, Ugh, man, my head, damn it. Kim Junsu looked over and thought to himself, Man, I told him not to try too hard. Suddenly, Hode approached Kim Junsu from behind and asked, You're quite enthusiastic, aren't you? Is it because you're still young? I never thought you'd actually be able to handle this job. Good job, Kim Junsu bashfully replied. Oh, it's all thanks to everyone's help. Then he thought to himself, Thanks to the new attributes I got. After clearing out the monsters, this job has become a lot easier. Looking at Hode, who was puffing on a cigarette, Kim Junsu wondered, does he look so tired? Because he's an L rank. Suddenly, a loud scream rang out. Kim Junsu whipped around in surprise. Gojinho was kneeling on the ground, clutching his head in pain, with thick black smoke billowing all around his body. The guy with the middle part asked, Hey, Jinho, your spine. Are you okay? Realizing something was wrong, Hyode immediately rushed over, shouting, "What the hell's going on? I have a bad feeling about this." Kim Junsu thought to himself, his face filled with panic. "Don't tell me it's happening now." Hyode rushed toward Go Jinho, shouting anxiously, "Hey Jinho, snap out of it, let's get out of here." Immediately, a terrifying face turned around, growling with glowing red eyes and razor-sharp teeth. In a flash, an explosion erupted, sending debris flying everywhere. Kim Junsu quickly raised his hand to shield himself from the flying fragments, thinking to himself, "Damn it, we're cooked." A giant foot with sharp spikes, looking like bullhorns, emerged. Staring at the massive monster right in front of him, Kim Junsu blurted out, "He's mutated." Jinho has mutated. Looking down at the bodies of his teammates on the ground, Kim Junsu thought in terror. "It seems like he's completely lost his mind. If I don't defeat him, I won't make it out of here alive. But all the new attributes I've gained are for cleaning up monsters. None of them are useful for actual combat. No matter how I look at it, I'm definitely done for." Right after that, the mutated Jinho swung his powerful arm, punching Kim Junsu directly. The impact contorted his face, sending blood splattering as he was blown 10 meters away. He hit the ground with massive force, causing rocks and debris to fly in all directions. Lying flat on the ground, Kim Junsu thought, "The power gap is too huge. At this rate, I'm a dead man." Then suddenly, his notification window appeared. "Congratulations. You have acquired a new trait. Acquired endurance." Staring at the status screen, Kim Junsu shouted in excitement, "A trait! That's right, I have a trait. It's too early to give up. To survive, I need to use my head. How can I take that thing down? First, let's delete some of these traits. Strength is exactly what I need right now. Mana Heart will help control mana, and endurance will reduce the damage taken. Mana absorption allows me to absorb mana and deep breath. Helps recover even more mana. Finally, the last missing piece, impurity resistance." After setting up all his traits, Kim Junsu bravely gripped his shovel and challenged the monster. "All right, preparation is basically complete. Bring it on, you son of a bitch." Hearing the challenge, instantly, the mutated Gojino charged straight at him. Kim Junsu took a stance, pulling the shovel back. At that moment, surges of power began to manifest at the head of the shovel. Immediately after, a notification window popped up. Activated. Power trait. Amplifying strength by 10 times. That was when Kim Junsu swung the shovel up and slammed it down with a heavy blow, sending the monster flying into the air. Kim Junsu smiled and thought, "Nice, it worked. I can actually do this?" But it didn't stop there. The mutated Gojino suddenly curled up like a spiky ball, causing Kim Junsu to cry out in shock. "What the hell is this?" In the meantime, the spiky ball was rolling toward Kim Junsu, getting closer by the second. It then launched into the air, transformed back into its monster form, and pounced down. Just as the monster landed, Kim Junsu quickly jumped up, dodging the monster's attack. At the same time, he activated the endurance trait, amplifying his power by 10 times. He then lunged at the monster with a powerful punch, attacking relentlessly from left to right and from top to bottom. But suddenly, the monster began to counterattack. Using its razor-sharp hedgehog quills, it frantically fired quills toward Kim Junsu. Despite his best efforts to dodge, his body was still riddled with the sharp quills and he fell backward in agony. He struggled to get back up through the pain. He thought to himself, "There's no other way but to keep attacking. Just a little more effort." In an instant, Kim Junsu stood up and flew toward the monster. With a look of pure rage and a punch full of determination, he struck the monster once again. Long trails of blood splattered everywhere, but it didn't come from the monster. His own arm was completely mangled right after that punch. As if driven into a frenzy, the monster continued to fire spikes from its body, crushing Kim Junsu's other arm. He collapsed to the ground, screaming in agony. Seemingly having anticipated this, Kim Junsu thought that, as expected, he couldn't win, using the weak body of Soldier Kim. Meanwhile, the monster swung its arm up, preparing for a finishing blow. It then punched straight down at Kim Junsu's position, sending dirt and rocks flying everywhere. Back when I played games, everything was so easy. Just one tap was enough to take down monsters. I never gave a thought to the characters' feelings, and just pushed them to the extreme, under the guise of efficient training. But now I get it. You have to endure pain to earn even a mid-tier trait. There's no way to win without paying the price. All of a sudden, Kim Junsu surged up, blasting the monster away. He successfully activated the mutated muscle trait. The reason he attacked so recklessly was because traits can be acquired by pushing past limits. By activating both the Mana Heart trait and strength to obtain mutated muscle, everything was preparation for this very moment. The monster rushed in again, attacking him with a punch, but this time, Kim Junsu easily blocked it thanks to his mutated arm. Then he immediately countered with a punch of his own, though the monster was quick enough to block it. It then clenched its spiky fist tight. It attacked with another punch, sending Kim Junsu sprawling onto the ground. Kim Junsu wondered in surprise, was it not even using its full strength yet? At that same moment, his body began to gradually transform, leaving the monster looking quite taken aback. His notification window then popped up. You have acquired the mutated physique trait. Now much larger, Kim Junsu slowly stood up. Looking up at the monster, he smiled and said, "Thanks, I've gotten stronger because of you." Now we're an even match. Immediately after, the two lunged at each other in a frenzy, locking hands and struggling for dominance. Nearby, Hyode was slowly waking up after the previous shockwave. Gazing over at Kim, Junsu and the monster fighting, Hyode blurted out in utter shock, "Sol Soldier Kim, what the hell is he, a superhero or something? How can he go toe-to-toe with a mutant?" At that same moment, both Kim Junsu and the monster were blown backward, skidding across the ground. Kim Junsu thought, this isn't easy. I've grown to its size, but even like this, I'm still at a disadvantage. While Kim Junsu was lost in thought, the monster scrambled up, growling in anger. He came up with a plan, a risky one, but there was no better option. He activated the impurity resistance trait, developing mana resistance, purifying impurity. Right after that, Kim Junsu turned into a literal monster, unleashing a blast of power at the mutated Gojinho. Witnessing that unbelievable sight, Hyode cried out in terror. What the hell is that? Did he turn into a monster too? He's become a mutant. Now that he's fighting one, I've got to get out of here right now. Kim Junsu reached his massive hand toward Hyode, about to grab him. But immediately after, his body returned to its normal human form. Hyode looked back in surprise and thought, wait, what? Wait, he's human again. Before Hyode could even process what happened, Kim Junsu collapsed face first onto the ground. He panted heavily and muttered, I actually pulled it off. Impurity resistance, the final line of defense. If you possess a mutant form and mutated muscles, and remove impurity resistance, you will undergo a full mutation. Most people believe that, once you've turned into a mutant, there's no going back. But I'm built different. I knew that as long as I held on to a shred of sanity, I could swap my traits. That's how I traded mutation back for impurity resistance. Kim Junsu sat leaning against a wall, exhaustedly complaining. It felt like my entire skeleton and every muscle were literally shifting around. I never want to go through that ever again. Glancing at the carcass of the mutated hedgehog, Kim Junsu shakily forced himself to stand up. Just then something deep purple began to emerge from the monster's mouth. Kim Junsu picked it up and examined it for a moment, and immediately a notification window popped up. Harvested Mana Core Rank 1. Kim Junsu couldn't contain his excitement, grinning ear to ear and shouting, it was all worth it. I actually got a Rank 1 Mana Core. Man, this cleanup job really has its perks. Seeing Kim Junsu's wild reaction, Hyode asked worriedly, Hey, are you okay? You turned into a mutant. What the hell happened? Kim Junsu thought to himself, it'll be a real pain if weird rumors start spreading about me. He then turned to Hyode and explained, yeah, I just gambled on being able to change back. I got really lucky, I guess. Hyode gave him a skeptical look and asked, What you're saying, that was just luck. But that was way too. Before Hyode could even finish his sentence, Kim Junsu shoved the mana cores into Hyode's hands and said, Here, take these. He then turned to leave, saying, Phew, okay, back to it. I need some fresh air. The guy in the vest blurted out in surprise, Mana cores. Rank 0 cores, holy crap, there's actually this many. Kim Junsu glanced back and thought with a smirk. Since I saved their lives and even gave them some cores, I bet they'll keep my secret right. Hyode, still looking totally skeptical, watched Kim Junsu's retreating figure. Scene shifts to a certain room. Director Choi laughed cheerfully and said to Kim Junsu, Man, I heard you went through some rough times out there. Must have been pretty intense, huh? Holding a cup of coffee, Kim Junsu replied with a forced smile. Oh, well, it just got a little tiring toward the end. On the other hand, he was wondering, why is he suddenly sucking up to me like this? Director Choi then emphasized, Anyway, you really should have told us that you were an awakened superhero. We could have given you a legit job, instead of just cleaning duty. Raising his coffee cup, Kim Junsu thought with amusement. So he thinks I'm a superhero now. In Axon Soul, an awakened is a person whose abilities have triggered, granting them powerful mana in this world, where strength is synonymous with power and status. Superheroes are essentially the nobility. Well, I guess he has a reason to think that, since you have to be one to take down a mutant, even though I only won because of my traits. Cutting through Kim Junsu's train of thought, Director Choi reached behind him for something and said, So then, I guess I should pay you for the cleanup job. Kim Junsu replied, That would be great. Internally, he was grinning from ear to ear, thinking, Well, I'll just let him keep thinking I'm a superhero for now. Director Choi pulled out a bag of money and said, You cleaned 5 sectors, and we take a 20% fee from the 50,000 total, split evenly among the team. Your share is 5,000. Then Director Choi slammed the stack of cash on the table, and continued. But this time we're going to do things a bit differently, leaving Kim Junsu completely stunned. The director continued. We'll only take a 5% fee from your share, and we're giving you an extra bonus of 12,000. We look forward to continuing our work with you. Junsu couldn't believe his ears. He stood up abruptly, eyes wide with shock. Then he made a face of pure joy, thinking to himself, being an awakened is freaking awesome. Clutching the large sum of money, Kim Junsu happily walked out of the room wondering, now that I've got all this cash, how should I spend it? Suddenly, the short-haired guy approached him at just the right moment. He asked, you look like you're in a good mood. Kim Junsu turned around startled. With a somber face, the man continued, I take it you received quite a bit of money. Kim Junsu scratched his head and replied with an awkward laugh, oh well, we did finish the mission after all. At the same time, he thought to himself, he's one of the guys I worked with last time. Then he quickly hid the bag of money behind his back. The short-haired man said bashfully, actually, the reason I'm here is because I wanted to ask you for a favor. Kim Junsu asked, is something wrong? The short-haired man explained, well, my wife is really sick, so I was wondering, could you possibly lend me some money? I'm sorry to ask you this, even though we've only worked together once, but I'm out of options. Kim Junsu frowned and thought to himself, in this world, helping others when you don't really know them is a bad idea. Who knows when they'll stab you in the back? It's hard enough just looking out for yourself. Immediately, the man bowed his head in distress and pleaded, please help me. Then he fell to his knees on the ground, tears welling up in his eyes. Kim Junsu quickly tried to stop him. Oh man, don't do that. You're older than I am. At that moment, Kim Junsu looked down and smiled, handing him a handful of mana cores, and said that while it wasn't much, he should take it. Scene cuts to a random street. It was already getting dark out. The short-haired guy looked totally smug over the mana cores that Kim Junsu gave him and said, what a loser, I just played the poor old man card. And he handed over all this cash. Hyodai chimed in asking if he was just a rookie. The bald guy replied gleefully, I bet if I said my kid was sick too, he would have coughed up even more. But it's annoying that he got paid way more than us, while he only tossed us some chump change. He's just posing as the superhero to steal our share of the cut. Hyodai frowned and said, he's no superhero. The bald guy suddenly had a thought and told Hyodai, why don't we teach him a lesson? Do you have a plan? Hyodai flashed a malicious grin and said, don't you get it? He probably has some weird ability, but we know his secret. Then he squeezed the mana cores in his hand tight, showing a truly sinister face as he continued, let's show him just how terrifying this world can be. The next morning at a certain building, Kim Junsu was lounging around on his bed, with a massage therapist beside him. Working away diligently, he happily blurted out, having money really is the life. I never thought I'd see the day I'd get a massage in a place like this. Being in the game is definitely better than real life. Just as the therapist reached his forearms, a series of cracking sounds rang out. Kim Junsu sat up with a start, thinking to himself, I've spent 3 whole days resting at the hotel, and it still hurts. From now on, I've got to think twice before using any new mutant traits. Evolutionary traits aren't as all-powerful as I thought. The body's transformation depends on the trait. The more severe the side effects, the more drastic this body changes. The problem is, can I even survive if I limit the use of my traits? Suddenly, he noticed something down the hall. Kim Junsu wondered to himself, wait, aren't they from the Iron Fist gang? They still had that same arrogant look. Seoul is ruled more by local gangs than by the law itself. It makes sense considering there are so many around here. People have to rely on the awakened. I've managed to survive by the skin of my teeth, but relying solely on traits in a dangerous place like this would be straight up stupid. After that, Junsu put on a delighted expression and said, don't I still have items, though? He walked up to the front of a shop. By now, it was late afternoon. Seeing Kim Junsu enter, the shopkeeper asked, are you here to sell something? Kim Junsu replied, yeah, that's right. I've got some monster byproducts. The shopkeeper glanced down at Kim Junsu's bag and said skeptically, just so you know, I'm not buying any. Rank 0 mana cores. Kim Junsu replied, I know, what I want to sell is... Immediately after, Kim Junsu reached into his bag and pulled out a mana core, obtained from a mutant hedgehog monster, leaving the shopkeeper completely stunned. Beads of sweat began to appear on her beautiful face. She asked tremblingly, Is this a rank 2 mana core? Kim Junsu held it closer to her and replied, that's right. Take a good look. Meanwhile, Junsu thought to himself, hey, it's actually fun seeing her this surprised. Grinding it out with a bunch of rank 0 mana cores back in the hotel room really paid off. I merged everything I had, and thanks to that, I got a rank 2 mana core. Watching the shopkeeper count the money right in front of him, Kim Junsu couldn't hide his excitement, thinking, the price varies depending on the rank. This is how you sell for top dollar. After finishing the count, the shopkeeper handed it to Kim Junsu and said, The price for a rank 2 core is 4.7 million won. Kim Junsu happily took it and replied, thanks a lot. By the way, do you sell any weapons or armor here? Realizing she had a big spender, she happily replied, oh, of course. Please step this way. She immediately led him to an armory. It had everything from guns to missiles and plenty of other useful gear. Kim Junsu couldn't help but gasp, whoa, you've got everything here, huh? All the basic items from the game were right there. She replied cheerfully, feel free to take your pick. Kim Junsu responded with a look of pure excitement. Definitely, time to gear up. A little while later, a backpack full of guns and gear was slung over Kim Junsu's shoulder. He strolled casually down the street, exclaiming with a beaming face, now that I've got weapons, it finally feels like I'm playing Axe and Soul. Suddenly a voice came from behind. Excuse me. Kim Junsu quickly turned his head. A beautiful girl with a fit physique approached him and asked, are you a mercenary by any chance? I really need some help. Kim Junsu shyly waved his hands and replied, oh no, I'm not. You should look for someone else. Just then the girl reached into her pocket, pulled out a stack of cash, held it up in front of Kim Junsu and said, I have business here, but the Iron Fist gang scares me. Could you protect me until I get back to my place? Kim Junsu looked down at the stack of money right in front of him. He couldn't resist thinking, 500,000 for a bodyguard gig. It's just like a daily quest. I'm already geared up anyway, might as well try it out. Immediately after, Kim Junsu put his hand on the girl's shoulder and said, I couldn't possibly ignore a beautiful lady in need. Then he happily turned around, pointed a finger toward the sky and said, let's roll. The girl happily replied, thank you. Walking onto a certain street, under the bright glowing lights, the raindrops looked absolutely surreal and poetic. The girl turned back toward Kim Junsu and said, we're almost there, this way. With a look of pure anxiety, Kim Junsu wondered, why on earth does she live in such a remote place? Forget people, there isn't even an ant in sight. But while Kim Junsu was still hesitating, she suddenly dashed ahead, turned a corner and called out. At this point, Kim Junsu stepped forward suspiciously to peek in, and she stopped and yelled, I'm almost home, hurry up. Kim Junsu scratched his head in frustration and replied, but it's too dark. I can't see a thing. Suddenly, his status window popped up again. Content obtained, the night vision trait. Kim Junsu thought excitedly, oh, I can see now. I didn't expect to pick up a trait like this. At that moment, gun was pointed straight at Kim Junsu. The girl sneered and told him, you're more cautious than I thought. Of course, Kim Junsu could see exactly what was happening. He thought, who is this woman? Why does she want to kill me? Wait, is this an ambush? Immediately, Hyode appeared behind him and said, where do you think you're going, Junior? Kim Junsu stammered, you guys... At the same time, from every nook and cranny, the rest of the crew slowly stepped out. Hyode continued gleefully, good to see you again. Don't you feel the same? Kim Junsu glanced toward the girl and asked, what did I even do? For you to pull this stunt? Hyode burst out laughing. Nothing, you're just too damn stupid. No other reason, you gullible prick. Instantly, Kim Junsu ditched his backpack and bolted like crazy toward the girl, leaving Hyode to scream in rage, you little brat. The conversation just started and you're already running. Shoot him, don't hesitate. The girl immediately fired, a shot straight at Kim Junsu. With that precise shot, a bullet slammed right into his back. Blood began to splatter everywhere as a cry of pain, escaped his lips. Kim Junsu slowly collapsed onto the stairs. Hyode looked disappointed and snapped at the girl. What the hell was that? You were supposed to shoot him in the leg, not blast him in the torso. The girl quickly explained, hey, it's better than letting him get away. Hyode cursed angrily, damn it all. I think he's dead. Staring at the body lying before them, the girl had an idea and told Hyode he turned back into a human after mutating. I'm sure some wizards would be down to buy. This kid's corpse. The short-haired guy chimed in. Still, if we'd caught him alive, we would have made way more bank. Whatever. Let's just jack his bag and gear. Hyode said dejectedly. It's no use. Fine, let's just do that for now. But by some mysterious force, when they looked back at the body, all that was left was a pool of blood. Everyone cried out in panic. Where the hell did his body go? Right after that, a street lamp was smashed to pieces. A mysterious power slammed straight into the short-haired guy's back, sending him flying head first into the ground, knocking him out cold. The group shrieked in terror. What was that? Hyode, as if realizing something, asked, don't tell me, is he still alive? Kim Junsu, his eyes glowing with crackling electricity, smiled arrogantly and said to Hyode, I'm still very much alive. I can't die because of some ungrateful backstabber. Kim Junsu recalled the scene at the shop, thinking to himself, thank God I bought that bulletproof vest. And at the same time, he had also obtained the play dead trait from the system. As for Hyode and his crew, they were now in a state of total chaos. He looked around frantically and shouted, he broke the lights. I can't see anything. Where the hell is he? Kim Junsu instantly appeared behind Hyode's back and said, looking for me. Since I saved your life, now I'm going to take it back. You son of a bitch. At that same moment, Kim Jun-soo landed a powerful punch right into Hyodae's face, sending him tumbling to the ground. Unable to swallow his pride, Hyodae scrambled up, wiping the blood from his mouth with his hand. He cursed the bastard, immediately stood up and countered with a roundhouse kick. But Kim Jun-soo wasn't about to go down that easily. He sidestepped the attack, then struck back with another punch, straight to Hyodae's face and said, "You should be grateful that I saved you. Do you really think killing your own savior is the right thing to do?" Panicking because she couldn't see a thing, the girl raised her gun and fired, blindly toward the source of the noise. She kept asking, "Are you over there? Are you okay, Hyodae?" At that moment, Kim Jun-soo was pinning Hyodae down, but that last shot managed to graze and lodge a bullet in Kim Jun-soo's arm. He thought with disappointment, "Damn, I was too careless." In Axe and Soul, the scariest things aren't monsters or mutants. It's the people. I was way too naive, trusting others way too easily. I won't make that mistake ever again. And then he reached down, drew his own gun, and with no wasted motion aimed right at that girl. He shot her straight in the arm, then smoothly took out the other guy's shoulder. Seeing them writhing in pain on the ground, Kim Jun-soo lowered his gun and spoke, "Enough, I have to kill Hyodae to be safe." At the same time, a large blast crater appeared on the wall. Hyodae quickly closed in behind Kim Jun-soo and unleashed a powerful kick, knocking the gun out of Kim Jun-soo's hand. Looking at Hyodae's legs, Kim Jun-soo realized his legs had mutated. He had awakened his levels into a super deer mutant. Kim Jun-soo cursed under his breath, "This trash game, superhuman awakening." Since every character can go through the superhuman awakening phase, it's considered a fundamental stage of progression in this game. In the world of Ascension, a level 1 superhuman is strong enough to threaten any ordinary citizen, carrying only a rifle. In other words, I have to fight a superhuman with nothing but this normal body. Suddenly, Hyodae begins to vanish from Kim Jun-soo's sight, leaving him bewildered, wondering, where did he go? If I remember correctly, Hyodae's specialty is omnidirectional movement and kicking. The user can use their incredibly elastic legs to move freely, in any direction. At that moment, scuffing sounds echoed from a nearby wall. Kim Jun-soo whipped around toward the sound, thinking he's using his omnidirectional movement to scale the building walls. Suddenly, Hyodae lunged down screaming, "I'm gonna kill you!" Kim Jun-soo thought, "I have to dodge this." Hyodae slammed down, causing a massive impact. But in the nick of time, Kim Jun-soo managed to scramble away. Hyodae hissed in anger, "You actually dodged that." Immediately after, Hyodae kicked off and charged forward, yelling, "But you won't get lucky this time." He launched a frantic barrage of kicks. However, Kim Jun-soo was prepared this time. He blocked the kick with a baton, and with a cold expression he told Hyodae, "Sorry, but I don't plan on dodging anymore, you animal." Kim Jun-soo smiled with satisfaction, thinking, buying this baton was a great move. A few hours ago at the shop, Kim Jun-soo was still debating with himself. Is it worth buying a gun? But since Warrior Kim is a character with the warrior class, even if I get stronger, my marksmanship skills will only reach a certain limit to play it safe. I'll buy an additional warrior class weapon. Back to the fight. Hyodae's legs were shaking like a leaf. Kim Jun-soo took the chance to shove him back hard, forcing both of them to retreat. Gripping the baton in his hand, Kim Jun-soo thought, every character has weapons and traits that are more effective for their specific class. That's why to beat Hyodae, I need to use a melee weapon and traits suitable for a warrior. In an instant, Kim Jun-soo swung the baton and smashed it straight into Hyodae, slamming him violently onto the ground. Just then, Kim Jun-soo's status window popped up with a notification, "You have acquired the strike trait." Kim Jun-soo let out a satisfied grin, thinking, nice, my very first class-specific transformation trait. Without a second thought, Kim Jun-soo immediately rushed in to attack with double overhead slash, striking repeatedly from left to right, and from top to bottom. Hyodae refused to back down and lunged forward, trying to land a counterkick. Seeing his opening, Kim Jun-soo immediately swung with all his might at Hyodae's leg, snapping the baton in half before he could even get upset. His notification window flared up again. You have acquired the combination trait. And instantly, his broken baton was fused back together. Seizing the moment, Kim Jun-soo thrust the baton straight into Hyodae, leaving him motionless on the ground. Kim Jun-soo was beyond hyped, jumping for joy and shouting, I did it! I just took down an awakened deer. Suddenly, both of his hands erupted into violent flames, then gradually spreading across his entire body. Kim Jun-soo thought, my whole body, why does it hurt so much? But I can still feel something surging inside of me. Don't tell me this is the day I learned the brutal truth of the world. In Ascension, his status window popped up, displaying a notification. Level 1 Warrior Superhuman awakened. Kim clenched his flaming fist. Kim Jun-soo thought, a Warrior Superhuman. An Esper. He then jumped up for joy and shouted, "I'm finally a warrior superhuman. Not only will I get high-paying mercenary offers with a fat salary, but I can even get low-interest bank loans." Now, just then, a pair of feet approached him from behind. A man with scruffy stubble, clamping a dark cigar in his mouth, spoke up and asked, "So you done now?" Kim Junsu spun around in shock and thought to himself, "This guy is Kim Cheol-gwan." He was the second starter character to appear in Axe Soul after Kim Warrior, a character with a background in special ops who uses firepower as his primary weapon and specializes in shooting with a prosthetic arm. The problem is, Kim Cheol-gwan is the powerful boss of the Iron Fist gang in the underworld. Since I fought right in their turf, I must have really pissed them off. Kim Cheol-gwan walked closer and asked, "Did you even check where you were?" "Before causing this hot mess," Kim Junsu replied tensely. "I was attacked out of nowhere. Besides, I couldn't just sit there and die." Instantly, Kim Cheol-gwan pulled out his gun. Was he chambering a round to threaten him? "So, you're saying those punks are scarier than the Iron Fist gang?" Kim Junsu thought in terror, "A gun again. If it comes to a fight now, I'm dead meat." "Kim Cheol-gwan," he pressed the gun firmly against Kim Junsu's chest. Gritting his teeth, he continued, "Buddy, you made a huge mistake choosing this path. Let me show you exactly what happens when you mess up our turf." Kim Junsu replied coldly, "Is that so? But there's one thing you missed." He then grabbed Kim Cheol-gwan's gun tightly, pulled it against his own chest, pulled the trigger, and yelled, "I'm not the kind of guy who dies that easily." A loud bang echoed through the air. At the same time, the bullet tore right through Kim Junsu and flew out his back. Meanwhile, Kim Cheol-gwan was absolutely stunned, thinking this idiot just pulled the trigger himself. Suddenly, Kim Junsu's notification window popped up again. "You have obtained the regeneration attribute," and in an instant, surges of green energy began to rise, powerfully from Kim Junsu's body. He gave a slight smirk and said to Kim Cheol-gwan, "That actually tickles, man." Kim Cheol-gwan smiled with genuine intrigue and said, "Oh, look at you. You've got a pretty interesting ability there." By now, Kim Junsu's wound had completely closed up. He smiled to himself and thought, "Regeneration, the upgraded version of the healing attribute. It's the attribute you get once you become a level 1 warrior superhuman. As long as they start underestimating me, it's game over for them, so I'll keep up the bluff." Right after that, Kim Junsu pointed behind him and raised his voice. "As you can see, I didn't survive just on pure luck. I don't care who you guys are. If you pick a fight with me, the warrior Kim, then you'd better be ready for the consequences." Kim Cheol-gwan burst out laughing and asked, "Warrior Kim, is that your name? I like your guts, kid. All right, I'll let you slide this time, but that means you owe me one." Kim Cheol-gwan then stepped closer and patted his shoulder. Getting right in Kim Junsu's face, he said, "I'm sure you know exactly what that implies." Kim Junsu looked up at him with a deadpan expression and replied, "Fine, I'll keep that in mind." Meanwhile, he was thinking to himself, "There's no way he recognized me, right?" Then the man held out his prosthetic hand and said, "Nice, let's work together sometime." Kim Junsu thought, Kim Cheol-gwan isn't the type to backstab me. Building a connection here isn't a bad move at all. Snapping out of his thoughts, he reached out his hand, shook the man's hand, and said cheerfully, "Sounds like a plan. See you around." The scene shifts to Jamsil the Esper Tower. Kim Junsu exclaimed with a look of pure joy. "I couldn't tell just from looking at the game, but this place is seriously magnificent." Stepping inside, Kim Junsu was completely overwhelmed by everything. He kept looking around wide-eyed and dazed, and then affirmed to himself, "This place is on a whole different level compared to my town." He was greeted by a girl with a lovely smile and a radiant aura. "Thank you for visiting the Esper Tower. Is there anything I can help you with?" Kim Junsu blushed in embarrassment and thought, "Oh man, she's so gorgeous. But she looks so familiar. Is she an NPC?" Seeing him standing there frozen, she cheerfully continued, "If you're here for your superhuman warrior certification, please head to that machine over there to measure your mana and your attributes." Following the direction she pointed, Kim Junsu was stunned by the advanced machinery being placed inside the hall. He slowly began taking steps, moving further in. Kim Junsu thought, "I haven't even asked anything yet, but she's already guiding me. Man, do I really look that much like a total noob?" Anyway, once I get that superhuman warrior certification, I can finally start my real life in Axe Soul. Suddenly, something made him gasp in terror. What the hell is that?" The people standing nearby began to look incredibly hyped up, shouting, "Look at the ceiling. The Saintess is here." Kim Junsu followed their gaze, looked up and muttered, "The Saintess." Upon seeing that seemingly familiar object, Kim Junsu felt disappointed and thought to himself, "It's just a hot air balloon, right?" Immediately after, a powerful beam of light shone straight down. Everyone clasped their hands in prayer, except for Kim Junsu, who was still stunned by everything happening. He widened his eyes and wondered, is this the Godfather's decree? Why is the world boss here? As she stepped out, someone knelt on the ground and shouted, the saintess of the Godfather's decree? It is truly an honor for me. Meanwhile, Kim Junsu thought to himself, since I'm still in the tutorial phase, she's appearing as the saintess, not the world boss. But if the story continues, it'll be revealed that the decree is actually a cult hiding under the guise of a religion, and they'll start attacking people indiscriminately. After seeing her approach the mana tester, the crowd's whispers started up again. Is the saintess here to measure her mana? She must be here for a level reevaluation. Suddenly, a massive surge of power radiated from her body, sending everyone into a frenzy of shock and screaming, whoa, that's insane. But Kim Junsu was also hit by that power. He blurted out, that mana measurement is way too loud. When her status window finished loading, it showed Saintess Priest class mana. Level 8 6th circle magic. Kim Junsu thought in a panic. She even has 6 attributes. This is crazy. This is no time to be hyped. A level 8 superhuman warrior is as powerful as a full battle fleet, a walking Esper of national strategic importance. But even if I spoke up now, how would they even treat me? They'd probably just treat me like a nut job and throw rocks at me. I'll worry about the future later. For now, I'll just focus on measuring my mana first. If a rookie like me shows up with 6 whole attributes, it'll draw way too much attention. So I'm going to scale it down to 3. But as if sensing something, the saintess suddenly whipped around toward him. A maidservant saw this and stepped forward asking, my lady, something the matter? The saintess replied, it seems there's someone unusual here. Instantly, the saintess walked right up behind Kim Junsu and whispered, you seem to possess quite an interesting power. Kim Junsu spun around and complained, holy crap, you scared the life out of me. Then remembering something, Kim Junsu thought, wait a sec. What did the world boss just say to me? Could it be that she sensed I was changing my attributes? A civilian in the crowd interrupted. What's going on? Why is the saintess? He looks pretty average, doesn't he? At that moment, the saintess grabbed Kim Junsu's hand, smiled brightly, and asked, warrior, what is your name? Kim Junsu replied, dazed, I'm Warrior Kim. After answering, Kim Junsu looked terrified, thinking, if the saintess asks for your name in Axon Soul, then... Right then she closed her eyes, and dark, sinister auras began swirling around his hand. The saintess continued, well then, Warrior Kim, on behalf of the Order of the Godfather, I shall grant you your baptism. Then a blood-red gaze with pupils, as yellow as gold coins, appeared. Staring intently at him, she said, the former master of the Black Gold Throne always craves those who possess rare power like yours. Submit to him, and find peace in this hell on earth. Outside, jealous whispers filled the air. A baptism, I'm so jealous. The saintess herself is performing the baptism. In contrast to everyone else's feelings, Kim Junsu was showing intense anger, thinking, damn it, if I agree to be baptized and gain the baptism trait, I'll become a paladin for a cult that's destined to lose the war against the major powers in Axon Soul later on. It's like being forced to buy a stock that's about to go bankrupt. Thinking of this, Kim Junsu quickly brushed the saintess's hand away, putting an end to this bizarre ritual. Amidst the regret and shock of the crowd outside, Kim Junsu knelt at the saintess's feet and said, I refuse the baptism. This left the saintess momentarily stunned as she gasped, did I hear that correctly? Kim Junsu replied, no, I'm dead serious. The saintess lowered her head in disappointment and said, as you wish. Whether to serve or reject the gods is entirely your choice. Then suddenly, she grabbed him and shouted, but the Godfather has already chosen you. Don't forget that the divine dust has already settled on you. If you cannot overcome even that little bit of dust, then your pathetic little freedom will mean absolutely nothing. At the same time, her expression shifted. Flames and black smoke began rising from Kim Junsu's arm, gradually spreading across his entire body, burning him in agony. The people outside started criticizing him relentlessly. How does a nobody like him dare to refuse the baptism? An atheist, seriously? How pathetic. Immediately after his notification window popped up, status Divine Fire trait activated. Suffering from relentless searing pain for the sin of refusing the baptism. Kim Junsu thought, I saw this coming. But my whole body feels like it's being torched. Divine Fire is one of the most powerful debuffs in Axon Soul. The chronic burning fever of Divine Fire makes daily life nearly impossible, and there's no way to cure it, other than going to the cathedral for a baptism. I refused it for the sake of the future. But am I really about to kick the bucket right now? Suddenly, cool drops of water from someone's bottle poured down onto his face. The heat and the pain had made it so. He couldn't see anything clearly anymore. He dizzily wondered, wait, who's that? The beautiful girl who had just greeted him at the door was crying and checking on him frantically. Hey, warrior, are you okay? Kim Junsu faintly recognized her voice and thought to himself, Everyone shuns those with the divine fire. No one would help me, and yet I'm so grateful to her. Immediately after, his status window appeared again reading, "You have acquired the fire resistance trait." Kim Junsu instantly sat up to meditate, thinking to himself, it's not like I rejected the baptism without a plan. The divine fire debuff has a characteristic where it scales in strength, based on the target's mana capacity. Since I'm only a level 1 warrior, the divine fire is actually quite weak. There are still a few ways to deal with this. The first requirement is obtaining the fire resistance trait. I need to focus on these opposing sensations. Fire and water, the searing pain and a cold, calm mind. Right after that, surges of power within his body erupted, pushing the dark auras out of his system. And naturally, the notification window popped up again, stating you have acquired the mana shield trait. Kim Junsu stood up, crossing his arms, with a cool, composed look on his face, thinking I did it. The level 1 common trait that every defensive warrior must have, mana shield. Seeing that he seemed okay, the beautiful girl stepped closer to ask, "Oh my god, are you all right?" Kim Junsu replied, "Yes, thanks to you, I'm fine now." The people below, witnessing this miraculous sight, widened their eyes in shock and asked one another, he actually overcame the divine fire. What the heck is going on? Is this guy using cheats? Kim Junsu looked back at them, with a smug smile, thinking to himself, even though I haven't fully overcome it, and using the shield is just a temporary fix, at least the burning pain is gone now. The black flames look pretty badass too. I bet only warriors can see them. Now let's test my mana levels. At the same time, he stepped toward the mana meter, staring up at the status bar, waiting in suspense. Once the measurement was complete, he flashed an excited grin as the data appeared on the screen. Warrior Kim, age 22, class fighter. Mana level 1 trait 6 channels. Gasps of awe and praise continued to ring out from below. Whoa, level 1 and he already has 6 traits. Is a super rookie being born? Kim Junsu thought to himself. Ugh, I'm standing out way too much. My goal was to level up on the down low. But because of the mana shield, there's no way to lower the trait count. As he turned around, the beautiful girl approached him cheerfully and said, "Congratulations, warrior. In all my time working here, this is the first time I've seen someone start with 6 channels right off the bat. Shall we go and process your warrior certification now?" A moment later, the beautiful girl handed the card to Kim Junsu and said, "Here is your warrior certification card. Congrats on being officially recognized as a warrior." Holding the card in his hand, Kim Junsu couldn't hide his excitement. Happy tears were welling up in his eyes. He shared with her, "I went through hell just to get this." The beautiful girl then explained further, "In that case, let me brief you on the perks available to level 1 warriors." But Kim Junsu cut her off and said, "Oh, I already know all about it." Then he held up his fingers and listed them happily. Tax breaks, weapon usage rights, and full tax exemption once I level up, plus immunity from arrest for using abilities, free transportation, and plenty of other perks. The beautiful girl looked surprised and asked, "Wait, how do you know all that so well?" Kim Junsu chuckled and replied, "Well, I'm a gaming expert. An expert in warrior studies." Suddenly his expression turned serious. He glanced outside and said to her, "But listen, I'm not the type who likes to waste time." At that moment outside, a huge crowd of curious people was making a scene, holding up their phones to film and take pictures. A super rookie. I've got to write a special feature on him. Hey, can I get an autograph? We have to recruit him for our guild. Realizing what he meant, the beautiful girl jumped up, pulled out 2 cloaks, and said brightly, "Is there a way to slip out quietly? Luckily, I already prepared for this." Immediately, the 2 of them hurried away, completely covered by their cloaks. Kim Junsu said excitedly, "This is awesome, giving me a stealth cloak, and even showing me the secret exit." The beautiful girl replied, "It's no big deal, happy to help." His notification window popped up saying, "You have acquired the stealth trait." Kim Junsu laughed heartily and thought, "I can't believe it. I just scored another sweet trait." The beautiful girl turned back to remind the warrior, "Just keep going straight this way to get out. By regulation, I can only guide you this far." Kim Junsu bowed and replied, "That's enough. Thank you so much for today." The beautiful girl cheerfully cut him off. "You're welcome, takes care now." Then she quickly walked away, leaving Kim Junsu looking quite regretful. Watching her walk away, Kim Junsu thought to himself, "I didn't expect to find someone so kind in Arson Soul. And so beautiful, too. Once I get stronger, I'll definitely have to pay her back." What was her name again? I think I have her business card from earlier. Immediately, Kim Junsu pulls out of the card and starts looking. But it seems like he found some pretty shocking information, causing him to suddenly blurts out, "What big sozy?" So Baxton, she's one of the 3 strongest SSS rank warrior characters in the game. And since she's a swordsman class, she always looks terrifying. But she looked so familiar. Turns out she always looked so fierce in the game that I couldn't even imagine it. I never expected Big Sozy to be such a kind person. What the hell is actually going on? Over the following days, Kim Junsu continues his journey of clearing his dungeons. After a while of purging monsters, Kim Junsu pants heavily and exclaims, "What kind of warrior is this?" Having spent a whole week grinding and clearing dungeons, he slumps down in a corner and continues to complain. "I'm gonna die from overworking at this rate. I just finished clearing one cave. Man, I'm freaking exhausted. I don't know if this pace is even effective, since I've adjusted all my stats to maintain the mana shield." At the same time, he opens his status window. Looking at the club in his hand, he can't stop criticizing it. If I had used a specialized build for clearing monster dens, it would have been done a long time ago. Because of this piece of junk, I can't get anything else done. To get rid of the heat, I need that rare item called nectar, but it's insanely expensive. Grinding like this, how am I ever gonna afford it? Then he hangs his head in frustration. Suddenly, the phone in his pocket vibrates. Looking at the screen, Kim Junsu curses in annoyance. "How many times are you gonna call? Thicker than a bowl of oatmeal, huh?" The caller is Choi So-gyung. He hesitates and thinks to himself, "I thought we were done for good, weren't we?" Then his face darkens as he mutters, "Wait a sec, isn't there already a great way to handle this?" The scene shifts to Director Choi's office. Seeing that Kim Junsu agreed to come, Director Choi approaches him to suck up with a cup of coffee. He says with a wide grin, "Oh man, if it isn't our very own warrior Kim. The man himself. The one who overcame the heat poison without breaking a sweat. The starter with 6 different traits. Getting to meet the main man is such a huge honor for me." Meanwhile, Kim Junsu takes the cup of coffee and starts chugging it eagerly, replying, "Yeah, I didn't expect it to turn out like this. Anyway, did you find that thing I asked you for?" Director Choi replies gloomily, "Oh geez, don't even get me started." Kim Junsu stands up angrily and says, "If you couldn't find it, then I'll..." Director Choi immediately stops him and explains, No, this is about your contract. So of course I had to find it at all costs. I found it." Kim Junsu thinks to himself, as expected of Major Choi, someone who's desperate for a warrior contract. I figured he'd find me. A quest that rewards nectar. Kim Junsu sits back down and asks, "So what's the mission?" Director Choi pulls out a photo and says, "Have you ever heard of G Security?" After looking at it for a while, Kim Junsu replies, "G Security. Never heard of them. Is it some kind of security firm?" Director Choi explains, "It's a private military company, one of the top 10 biggest ones. The director and deputy director are a married couple. They come from an old martial arts clan, so their foundation is rock solid." Kim Junsu asks skeptically, "If they're that rich, they must have everything. Why would they need help with a mission?" Director Choi replies, "The issue is with their son, whom I've tracked down. Even though he's over 20, he still hasn't awakened his abilities." Warrior Kim Junsu asks back in surprise, "Huh? But both parents come from a martial arts clan, right?" Director Choi replies, "Rumor has it he's accumulated level 8 mana, but he just won't awaken. That's exactly why this is such a mystery. The condition they've set is someone who has already awakened, as a level 1 warrior or higher. This is the perfect quest for you, Warrior Kim." Kim Junsu pauses to think for a moment, then gives a cheerful smile and says, "Let's go meet them first and see." The scene shifts to a certain house. Sitting on the sofa, Director Choi looks nervous, bouncing his leg uncontrollably. He tries to act cool and tells Kim Junsu the director and his wife must be busy. They're not usually the type to be late. Kim Junsu is stunned by the magnificent scenery right before his eyes. He can't help but blurt out, "Man, this place reeks of old money." Just then a woman's voice calls out, "Sorry to keep you boys waiting. Have you been here long?" The two of them jump in surprise. Standing before them are the director and his wife. Contrasting with her husband's fierce expression, the wife continues with a warm smile. The clients are the couple Seol Jongju and Lim Iji. Seeing the couple approach, the two men stand up to greet them. Director Choi bows deeply in fear and says, "Oh, not at all. Thank you so much for making the time to see us." Kim Junsu bows slowly, but keeps his eyes on them, wondering. They must be at least level 6 warriors, right? Both of them possess extraordinary power. After seeing Kim Junsu's appearance, the husband sighs and turns away, saying, "One look and I can tell this guy is useless." The wife frowns and glares at him. "What are you talking about? If you're going to be like this, just go to your room." Plonking down on a chair, the husband still wears a look of disappointment and scoffs. "No way in hell," which makes the wife give him a sharp look before saying shyly to Director Choi, "He's so stubborn. Please, everyone have a seat." Director Choi quickly replies, "Yes." "Deputy Director, we are truly looking forward to your help." The Deputy Director asks gently, "Does your presence here today mean that you've come to take on our mission?" Kim Junsu replies, "First of all, I'd like to check your son's condition. If there's some specific reason keeping him from awakening then, but dissatisfied with that." The director slams his hand on the table in a rage. He stands up, fists clenched, and bellows, "Some rookie who crawled out of nowhere. You really think I'm just gonna sit here and tell you everything?" Seeing the tension rise, the deputy director stands up to stop him. "Honey, calm down." "I'm sorry. He's just been under a lot of stress because of our son." Meanwhile, Director Choi is visibly terrified, beads of sweat completely drenching his head. The deputy director looks at Kim Junsu and says intensely, "This isn't something we can just disclose to outsiders. If you take the mission, we'll call our son in and explain everything to both of you. You're the warrior who needs nectar, right?" Kim Junsu thinks to himself, a secret about their son they won't share. And they know exactly what I'm after. I'm getting more certain by the minute. He then puts on a friendly face and tells the deputy director with a smile, "Fine, I'll take the mission. Please call your son in." A moment later, the door opens. A young man looks visibly shy as he walks in and introduces himself. "Hello, I'm Seol Ujin." Kim Junsu approaches him, shakes his hand warmly, and says, "Oh, hi, it's a pleasure to meet you." Meanwhile, Kim Junsu thinks to himself, "This is sketchy. I can't feel even a trace of mana from him." Suddenly looking down, Kim Junsu is drawn to the gloves with the strange patterns. He speaks up to compliment Ujin. "Your gloves are really sick." Ujin shyly replies, "Oh yes, it's a very precious item to me, but I always use it with a heart of gratitude." Kim Junsu seems to realize something. He gives a cheerful smile and speaks up. "That's it. Ujin, you must need a powerful mana seal." Immediately after those words, every eye in the room is fixed on Kim Junsu. Not wanting to keep them in suspense, he begins to explain. "One look at those gloves and I was certain. This is a serious matter. One involving a prestigious clan, yet you set the requirement for specifically a level 1 warrior. The simplest reason I could think of is you used nectar as bait to lure me in. Ujin, you were supposed to undergo baptism by the Holy Order, right? The reason your son hasn't awakened is because he refused that baptism. He sealed his own mana just to avoid divine punishment, and because of that he couldn't go public with it. Recently I heard a rumor that a level 1 warrior had successfully overcome the baptism and the divine punishment. That must be why you reached out to me." Hearing this, Ujin freezes in his tracks. He forces a stiff smile and says, "That's incredible. I don't even need to explain further. It's like you're the main lead in some detective novel." Kim Junsu crosses his arms with a smug grin. He says, "I just have a simple grasp of the situation." But deep down he's thinking, when you already know the future, nothing is actually difficult. I had a hunch the moment I saw the photo. In the future, Seol Ujin becomes the vanguard holy knight of the jihadist order. If he keeps refusing the baptism and tries to resist the order's command, by the time his parents lose their power, only a dark future awaits him. Suddenly, the director and his wife rush to his side. With a desperate look, they ask Kim Junsu, "Master, is there any way for our Ujin to escape the baptism ritual?" Kim Junsu thought to himself, "The guy who was so high and mighty earlier is already eating out of my hand." Then, with a knowing smile, he replied, "Of course it's possible." He then approached Ujin, patted his shoulder, and declared, "Do you really think someone who spent 10,000 hours in Ascension like me wouldn't know the way? Come on. Just trust me. I'll definitely help you get out of this." Immediately, Ujin was overcome with emotion and began to sob, pulling Kim Junsu into a tight hug. Kim Junsu wore a satisfied grin as he thought, "Saintus or whatever. That big-time fake. You really think you can perform a baptism ritual on me? The key players who were supposed to be your future henchmen are now on my side." After reveling in his triumph for a moment, Kim Junsu let go of Ujin and said, "However, before we proceed with the treatment, I have one additional condition." The director asked in surprise. "Excuse me, what kind of additional condition?" Kim Junsu asked in return. "The difficulty level of this request has increased, hasn't it?" The deputy director replied sadly, tears welling in her eyes. "You're right. It's no longer just about awakening mana. It's about overcoming this affliction. Please just do it. If you can save our Ujin," Kim Junsu said in a low voice. "The additional condition is this. I want to be taught the empty mountain sword style." Upon hearing his proposal, the deputy director's expression shifted instantly. A crimson killing intent flooded the room, and with a terrifying gaze, she stepped up to Kim Junsu and demanded, "You fully understand the weight of what you just said, don't you?" Kim Junsu was genuinely spooked, thinking, "What is this bloodlust deputy director? She's way more terrifying than the director. I get that she's pissed, but the empty mountain sword style. Many people might think that. Deciding to learn swordsmanship in this 21st century information age is totally bizarre, but it's a whole different story in Ascension, where might makes right, because a top-tier swordsman can easily wreck an entire tank. A high-level martial artist is compared to a fighter jet squadron worth trillions of one. If a level 1 superhuman learns and consistently trains in the empty mountain sword style, they can reach level 4 without breaking a sweat. This is basically a cheat code. for the early stages of the game. I recall that only the elite could ever learn this swordsmanship. Snapping out of his thoughts, Kim Junsu awkwardly replied, Of course, that's only if I complete the mission." Sensing the tension in the room, Ujin stepped in to de-escalate. Mom, please." Hearing her son's voice, the deputy director seemed to snap out of it. She agreed to Kim Junsu's condition and said, "If you succeed, I will hand over the memory chip containing that sword style along with the nectar." The director let out a sigh of relief seeing his wife calm down. Meanwhile, Kim Junsu acted completely surprised and asked, "Really, for real, deputy director?" On the outside, he immediately showed his sincerity by bowing his head repeatedly. But inside, he was absolutely hyped. With a twisted grin, he thought, "I thought I was a goner for a sec. Now I'm getting the sword style too, this is goated." The deputy director then emphasized, "However, if you fail, my husband and I will be beyond disappointed." Furious even, Kim Junsu happily pointed toward Ujin and replied, "That won't happen. I give you my word. All right then, might as well get started right now." Shortly after, they headed to a specific room. The deputy director double-checked. A room with a mana concentration circle and 200 intermediate mana potions. "I'll have everything you requested prepared." Kim Junsu happily replied, "This should be plenty. I'd like to be alone with the patient during the treatment process. So if you could..." The deputy director said regretfully, I'm so sorry for what happened earlier. Our Ujin has been pressured to undergo baptism since before he even started school. He's never had the chance to make friends, let alone go on a family picnic. He has suffered through being forced to stay cooped up in his room." She then bowed before Kim Junsu, pleading, "I suppose we were just too oversensitive. I'm leaving everything completely in your hands now." Moved by her story, Kim Junsu thought to himself, "This whole family is suffering like this, all because of that Saintess's trap." Seeing his mother so emotional, Ujin ran to her side to comfort her. "Mom, don't worry too much, I'll be fine." Seeing the two of them so close, Kim Junsu couldn't help but feel a bit melancholy. In the original game, he ended up turning against his own family. No wonder. He turned out to be such a cold-hearted person. I feel kinda bad for them. Snapping out of it, Kim Junsu spoke up to encourage them. "Don't worry, I'll make this work no matter what." As soon as the deputy director left, Kim Junsu let himself relax completely. He stretched his body and said to Ujin, "Now it's just the two of us. Let's get it started." Ujin asked, trembling with fear. "What should I do?" Kim Junsu asked back, "Why are you shaking so much?" "Just chill out, man," Ujin replied in a panic. "You're not going to torture me with syringes or use electric shocks to force me to awaken, are you?" Kim Junsu asked curiously. "Just what kind of treatments have you been getting, geez?" The standard way to treat holy power fever is to consume nectar after awakening. However, because Seol Ujin has too much mana built up in his body, the fever is incredibly intense. As for making him awaken, everything will be a total failure. Then Kim Junsu walked over and sat down, took the potion vials out of the crate and said, "You don't need to worry, but remember one thing. You must keep everything a secret. Everything you see in today's session." Ujin then replied, "I promise." "Master Ujin is ready." Kim Junsu then said, "All right. Then I'm starting now. First, we must expand the mana barrier to its absolute limit. After that, the barrier will become weaker. And whenever you feel your body heating up, start opening the vials and chug them all down. Even though it tastes like hot garbage, it's very helpful for this process. After that, the damage received and mana consumption rate will spike, but the potion's effectiveness has increased abnormally. Obtain the potion addiction trait. Now if I concentrate my mana into a shield, I'll get one. Area shield creates a barrier in the designated area. The holy power fever was completely repelled by the barrier. After witnessing that scene, Ujin couldn't stop shouting in excitement. "This is freaking awesome." Kim Junsu quickly corrected him. "You're getting hyped too early. Now you have to take off those mana-sealing gloves." Ujin was startled and replied, "Ah, yes, sir." Then Kim Junsu reached out his hand and continued, "Reach your hand outside the barrier. Then just grab my hand," Ujin asked in a panic. But wouldn't that cause a resonance reaction between the two holy power fevers? Kim Junsu then explained, "You'll be fine as long as you're inside the barrier. Don't ask why anymore, just do as I say." As Ujin took off the gloves, he thought, "This is the first time I've taken my gloves off since my baptism." Then Kim Junsu grabbed Ujin's hand and wondered, just how much mana does this kid have in his body? This is crazy, but still. Then immediately, Kim Junsu's body felt as if it were being incinerated. He let out a scream of pure agony. "It hurts, even more than when the Saintess baptized me. My bones feel like they're shattering into pieces. But I have to focus and push through this pain." A moment later, his status window popped up with a notification. Damage absorption. The user can absorb damage intended for others. Kim Junsu gave a satisfied smirk and said to Ujin, "It worked." Seol Ujin looked at his hands, a joyful smile spreading across his face as he exclaimed, I took the gloves off, but I'm totally fine. Kim Junsu replied in a low voice, exactly. That's why we had to go through all this crazy stuff. Besides using the barrier, I used damage absorption to transfer part of the holy power fever onto myself, meaning Seol Ujin's holy power fever had been significantly reduced. To complete the final step, Kim Junsu picked up a wooden sword, handed it to Ujin and said, take this. Don't stop attacking me until you've awakened. Ujin agreed, took the sword and said, it's time to use the swordsmanship. I've been training in since I was a kid. With the sword in hand and the stance of a true elite swordsman, Seol Ujin lunged forward aggressively, unleashing a barrage of strikes at Kim Junsu, causing the protective gauntlets on his arms to reach their breaking point. Under the sheer force, they began to crumble. Unable to believe his eyes, Kim Junsu wondered, what the? He broke iron gauntlets with a wooden sword. How? Right then the notification window appeared again. You have obtained the protection trait. But Ujin's relentless storm of attacks left Kim Junsu feeling anxious. Even with this trait, I'm still in deep trouble, if even one of those hits me. He tried his best to dodge at all costs. After a series of moves were unleashed, it seemed like Ujin still hadn't awakened yet. Immediately after that last strike, Ujin's entire body began to glow, like blazing flames surrounding his body. Kim Junsu was startled and wondered to himself, what the? Both the sword and Ujin are glowing with the same color. Right now on Ujin's side, he has reached the realm of one with the sword. Immediately Ujin unleashed a sword strike. Powerful shockwaves blasted outward, like flames erupting from the ground. Kim Junsu stepped back in fear, thinking, if I get hit by that, I'm toast. Kim Junsu immediately thought of his defensive traits. Then he concentrated all shields into both hands. Combined with the help of the mana circle in this room, suddenly a status window popped up. You have acquired the mana shield trait. Kim Junsu smirked and exclaimed, I did it. I've combined the mana shield and protection traits. Suddenly Ujin collapsed onto the floor. Kim Junsu rushed over, speaking in frustration. How dare he just pass out peacefully? After nearly killing me, he's fast asleep. I guess he went a little crazy right after awakening. In the game, Cell Ujin is a top-tier SSR character. But since he awakened as a warrior instead of a knight, it looks like I've created a monster warrior by awakening Seol Ujin as a warrior instead of a knight. I don't know how this change will affect the future storyline. Well, he's a guy born with a silver spoon, with unparalleled power, and now he owes me a favor, so that's not too bad, right? After bringing Ujin back to his room, the vice director asked in surprise, Ujin, did our boy really overcome the divine fever? Afterward, the couple bowed to Kim Junsu and said, thank you so much. Kim Junsu replied with a smug grin. It's nothing, I told you I could do it. Meanwhile, Director Choi was fawning over him, pouring tea, serving it right to Kim Junsu's lips while saying, I knew you'd pull it off. The vice director then approached Ujin. With an affectionate look, she stroked her son's head and hair, saying, it's been a long time since we've seen him sleep like this. I don't know how we can ever repay this debt. After the couple locked eyes, the director held an envelope in his hand, stepped toward Kim Junsu, and said cheerfully, so along with the promised nectar, the memory chip and the mountain smasher swordsmanship, I'll give you an additional bonus fee for this unexpected success. Kim Junsu acted shy and replied, oh gosh, you really don't have to do that, sir. The director continued with total sincerity, please, I hope you'll accept this 1 billion won from us, even though this amount might still be less than what you've done for us. Hearing this, Kim Junsu couldn't contain himself. He gulped hard and wondered, 1 billion? On the outside, he tried to act humble while shaking the director's hand, saying, haha man, it would break my heart to say no twice. So I guess I have no choice then. But on the inside, he was grinning ear to ear, thinking, that's freaking awesome. Leaving that house, the two traveled in a luxury car, under the magical glow of the streetlights. Holding the nectar and the memory chip in his hands, Kim Junsu felt extremely satisfied and said, we really hit the jackpot today. Director Choi then asked, do you plan on drinking the nectar right away? Kim Junsu replied, I do, and I'm planning to take some time off. Director Choi looked at Kim Junsu and said, that's understandable. You probably don't want to catch the eye of the old man, or anyone who hears about your reward, but it's a real shame. If you refine that nectar and absorb it, it'll boost your mana by a massive amount. Holding the nectar vial, Kim Junsu replied, that's true. Then he couldn't stop thinking, if I can refine this nectar and drink it, I could level up my superhuman abilities big time, instead of spending money to cure the level 3 divine fever. The car suddenly pulled up in front of a hotel. As Kim Junsu opened the door and stepped out, Director Choi called out, warrior, I'll try to look around to see if there's any equipment needed to refine the nectar. So if possible, give it some thought before you use it, okay? Kim Junsu replied cheerfully, thanks a lot. I'll keep that in mind. Back in his room, Kim Jun-soo hurriedly uncapped the nectar bottle, flashing an excited grin. He thought to himself, I'm drinking this right now. I learned my lesson about how cutthroat Soul can be from that deer incident, and I can't guarantee that director, Choi, won't backstab me. Recalling traits like mana absorption addiction and drug dependency, Kim Jun-soo downed the potion and thought, anyway, I have traits that can maximize the effectiveness of the nectar. As the empty bottle hit the floor and shattered, Kim Jun-soo's entire body was seized by an agonizing pain, as if every muscle fiber was being torn apart and reassembled. A massive surge of mana was coursing through him after a terrifying blast of light erupted from that room. Kim Jun-soo successfully ascended to rank 2 superhuman. By curing the divine fever with nectar, he had obtained one of the best traits available at rank 1 in the entire game, the Dark Fire Harvest trait. Kim Jun-soo looked satisfied and flashed a contented smile, saying Dark Fire has been added to my list of traits. Along with Mountain Smasher swordsmanship, I feel so relieved. I can focus on training these 2 traits, and everything should be fine. Suddenly, the phone on the table rang incessantly. Kim Jun-soo walked over, wondering, is it Director Choi? Why is he texting me all of a sudden? Whatever, I'm going to go train. Right after that, Kim Jun-soo turned to leave. After taking just a few steps, the phone rang again, making Kim Jun-soo stop in his tracks. In pure annoyance, he rushed over, grabbed the phone, and cursed, son of a beat. What the hell is so urgent? Looking at the dozens of messages being sent in, Kim Jun-soo was surprised and wondered, what the hell is this? What on earth is he texting about? As if discovering something, Kim Jun-soo panicked and blurted out, wait, what's this? Run away from Dark G Gang. Kim Jun-soo froze for a moment, thinking he hid this message within the texts. Dark G Gang. They are one of the rivals of Iron Fist. If Director Choi wanted to betray me, he would have called me like normal to buy time. Judging by the messages he sent, he must have been compromised. It seems the information leaked while he was preparing the equipment. Well, I should just ignore it since I already got the nectar I needed. Everyone has to take responsibility for their own life. In Axon Soul, scene cuts to the next morning, at a remote, desolate street. Inside a room filled with torture devices, creepy Director Choi is being tied tightly to a chair by a group of thugs. One guy grabbed the director's head and said, you're pretty tough. All night long. And you still won't tell us where that superhuman bastard is hiding, huh? Director Choi replied defiantly. He signed the contract because he trusted me. I won't talk no matter what you do. He raised his finger as a signal. Wearing a vile expression, he said to Director Choi, I didn't want to do this, but you've left me with no choice. Then he reached for an axe, gripping it firmly, and moved toward Director Choi. Standing before him, he asked, left or right, which hand do you eat with? Receiving no answer, he swung the axe up, shouting, then it's usually the right one, isn't it? At that exact moment, a massive explosion erupted behind him, sending everything flying everywhere. He turned around in a rage and barked, what the hell was that? By then, 3 of his underlings were already flattened on the ground. One thug struggled to get up and replied, boss, what the hell is going on over there? Some crazy bastard just shot grenades at our building. From the building across the street, a sniper scope was aimed directly at the site of the explosion. Kim Jun-soo chuckled and said, Dark G Gang, you guys picked the wrong person to mess with. I can't abandon someone who kept their promise to me, especially not in this cruel world of Axon Soul, all right. It's showtime, you motherfuckers. Immediately after another massive explosion rocked the area, the thugs inside the house rushed out in a fury, searching for Kim Jun-soo's location. Shouts began to ring out. Where is he? Where's he shooting from? Find him now. Kim Jun-soo gave an amused smirk and spoke. As expected, they're swarming out of the building like cockroaches. Even though from the outside, the building looks like a normal apartment. I know you're all in there, because this place is the Dagger Gang dungeon that I've cleared until I'm sick of it. It's a complex dungeon, made up of 6 different buildings. Since the Dagger Gang quest is one of the trial missions, I could beat it with my eyes closed by now. And now the veteran is here to finish the quest. Down below at this moment, the thugs were scouring every nook and cranny. A man in black spoke up. The ones attacking us right now must be the Iron Fist gang, right? A man in blue replied, only they would pull off some insane stunt like this. If we catch them, let's beat them to a bloody pulp. Just then, the trash can behind him made a noise. The man in blue asked the others suspiciously, hey, did you hear that? Let me go check it out. The man in black agreed, saying, yeah. Make sure you check thoroughly. After that, the man in blue began poking around everywhere. Moving toward a dark corner, he peered in and asked, what is it? Then in an instant, Kim Jun-soo lunged out, grabbed his head, and slammed it hard against the wall. Looking at him lying motionless on the ground, Kim Jun-soo chuckled and thought to himself, even though I'm standing right in front of him, he couldn't even tell. When it comes to infiltration, There's no better combo than playing dead with the Anbu skills. So while those thugs are wandering around outside, I'll head into their main building. After that, Kim Junsu opened the lid of the trash can, slowly stepped down the stairs and said, "Let's head in through the secret passage." Stepping inside, Kim Junsu looked around cautiously, observing the situation and said, "So far, I've tried to avoid combat as much as possible. To infiltrate the Dagger Gang, they usually keep the hostages next to the boss's room. They're likely on the 5th floor, so there should still be a way. I'll move as stealthily as I can, so they don't catch me." Suddenly, the building's alarm system blared an announcement. "Emergency, emergency. Under enemy attack. An intruder has entered the building. All personnel, gear up and assemble at the designated rally point." Kim Junsu clicked his tongue in frustration and muttered, "Tisk, they found out already?" Stepping up to a door, Kim Junsu thought anxiously, "I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. If I go out there, I'll hit a hallway, which is the most direct path, since the main stairs to the upper floors are right there. But the problem is, once they know there's an intruder in the building, they'll set up barricades in the hallway as a line of defense." He then hesitated, scratching his head, and said, "If I open this door now, they'll start blasting me like crazy immediately." Without a second thought, Kim Junsu decided to throw the door open, and with a twisted smile on his face, he stepped out casually with a Gatling gun, madly spraying bullets at the thugs. With a gloating laugh, he shouted, "Hello! Eat lead babies. Here's a little gift from me." Caught completely off guard, the thugs cried out in terror. What the Gatling gun? At that moment, the hail of bullets tore into them. The ones standing in front were instantly riddled with holes like Swiss cheese. They dropped their weapons and collapsed to the ground. Seeing this, the ones in the back screamed, "You bastard! Fire back!" They frantically pulled their triggers in a desperate attempt to retaliate. Then out of nowhere, a grenade was tossed out right before their stunned faces. A massive explosion erupted, sending the group flying. Kim Junsu laughed mockingly with pure satisfaction. "If you're scared, go home, no cap, no cap." Then he reached behind his back, pulled out a handful of more grenades, and hurled them toward them, adding, "One probably wasn't enough, right? Have some more, you idiots." He immediately turned back to the shut door, laughing triumphantly. "Oh, looks like you guys are really enjoying this." After the deafening blasts faded, Kim Junsu hurried out, surveying the chaotic scene before him, strewn with bodies lying everywhere. Kim Junsu thought to himself, was that all of them? A few are probably still alive. I can't let my guard down. Just then one thug sat up, aiming his gun straight at Kim Junsu, screaming, "Die!" Right as the bullet flew toward his face, a notification window popped up before him. Status obtained, sensitivity trait. He easily dodged the lethal bullet. He then turned back to the thug and thought, "Hell yeah, now I've got the sensitivity trait I needed from this dungeon. Well, that's that then." Then he immediately put on a furious face and yelled, "Who did you say was gonna die? You're the one catching a body." After finishing that guy off, Kim Junsu gloated over his victory and said, "Now that the lackeys are dealt with, I'll head upstairs to finish the rest." As he stepped onto the stairs, he carefully scanned the surroundings and thought, "I might have made it to the 4th floor unscathed, but the real danger starts now. Gang members will appear at the 4th floor casino right before I reach the 5th floor and the boss's room." Kim Junsu carefully hugged the wall to observe, but when he peered out, he wondered in surprise, they're not here. As he stepped through the door into the casino, Kim Junsu also found it strange that no one was around. He thought to himself, something's not right. I need to focus. And immediately after, the status window announced, "Concentration attribute obtained." Suddenly realizing something, Kim Junsu thought, wait a minute. I can hear something from the floor above. Then a drone slowly descended in front of him. It dropped flashbangs, which then detonated, but Kim Junsu's reflexes kicked in. He quickly covered his face and swore, "Damn it, flashbangs!" At the same time, a masked man, wearing a cloak and clutching a dagger, stepped out behind him, launching a swift attack. He gloated, saying, "Gotcha, you little rat!" He was the Dagger Gang boss, a level 2 awakened assassin. Just as the blade was about to strike Kim Junsu, a shield manifested blocking the stab. He turned around and asked coldly, "Who did you say you got?" The assassin stuck out his tongue and exclaimed in shock, "The knife didn't go through." "Damn it, you blocked my ambush." Kim Junsu chuckled and shot back. "Don't look so surprised." At the same time, he reached behind his back, drew his sword, pointed it straight at the assassin, and shouted with a furious look, "I'll make you regret ever targeting me." Without wasting words, Kim Junsu immediately lunged at the assassin at breakneck speed. But just as he closed in, the man instantly blinked behind his back, gloating as he mocked Kim Junsu, "You're so slow and you're still trying to flex." Then he quickly dashed toward Kim Junsu's position, hurling a dagger at him. Kim Junsu spun around, swinging his sword to parry the dagger into the air. With a tense expression, he thought, he's too fast. He's a real assassin, all right. Just now. If I didn't have the sensitivity and concentration traits, I'd be cooked. His dagger is laced with poison magic, so letting it even touch me is enough to send me to the afterlife. The longer this fight drags on, the more disadvantaged I'll be. Cutting through his train of thought, the assassin sneered sarcastically. Oh, you're pretty lucky, aren't you? If you surrender now, I'll be merciful and only chop off one of your arms. What do you say? Kim Junsu replied with a provocative laugh. Man, stop yapping. If you're so tough, come get some. The assassin laughed arrogantly and said, looking at that pathetic sword stance, I already know you're just a marksman. For someone who can't even read the room. You sure talk a big game, Kim. Junsu thought in confusion. He thinks I'm a marksman. Oh, right, because I've been using guns this whole time. He must have misjudged me as an augmented soldier. Seeing him spaced out, the assassin seized the opening and lunged, screaming, I'll rip you apart and kill you in the most painful way possible. But to his absolute shock, Kim Junsu quickly counterattacked with a horizontal slash across his body, sending him into a panic as he fell flat on his butt. Kim Junsu raised his sword triumphantly and said, Now that I've switched traits, I'm not a marksman anymore. I'm a top-tier warrior skilled in swordsmanship. He then swiftly executed a sword technique, Mountain Slasher First Form, slashing straight down at the man, causing blood to spray everywhere. Infuriated, the man looked up with a dagger in hand and screamed, You bastard, this isn't over, before instantly hurling the dagger at Kim Junsu. A spurt of blood erupted, just as the assassin collapsed to the ground. However, his dagger had managed to embed itself in the boy's abdomen. Kim Junsu fell to his knees in agony, frustrated. He grunted, Damn it! I can't believe I let my guard down at the last second. The poison is already spreading through my bloodstream. I have to switch traits right now. With that, he pulled the dagger out of his body and activated his healing trait. After a moment of focusing his energy to neutralize the toxin, Kim Junsu stood up shakily, thinking to himself, I can handle this. But man, it hurts like hell. A while later on the 5th floor, the hideout of the Dagger Gang. Director Choi was sitting alone in the middle of the room. Kim Junsu rushed up from behind, kicked over Director Choi's chair, and used his knife to cut the rope, saying, We need to get out of here fast. Director Choi looked up in a daze, with a gag still tightly covering his mouth. Kim Junsu quickly knelt down, removed the gag, and asked, How exactly did you end up in their hands in the first place? Still panicking, Director Choi could only blurt out, You're a superhuman. Kim Junsu sighed wearily and told him, You're really stressing me out, you know that. Director Choi asked, tearfully moved by his rescue, Did you come here to save me? Kim Junsu touched Director Choi's shoulder and urged, Let's just get out of here first. The rest of them are on their way up. Director Choi replied, Yeah, of course. The two of them stood up, but it seemed Director Choi's leg. Choi wasn't doing too well. Kim Junsu thought to himself, Those bastards, look at what they did to him. He then knelt down in front of Director Choi and told him, Quick, get on my back. Director Choi quickly waved his hands and replied, What are you saying? That's not necessary. I don't think I have the right to ask anything more from you. Kim Junsu sighed and said, It's fine. We're in a hurry, so let's just get to a safe point first. Director Choi shyly replied, Well, just this once then. Thank you. Then Kim Junsu carried Director Choi away on his back. He glanced back at Director Choi and smiled, thinking, despite being brutally tortured like that, he still kept his loyalty. I thought this Axon Soul world was a living hell, but it also gives people moments of unexpected warmth. Back in Director Choi's room, the last can of water had just been finished. Kim Junsu slammed it onto the table, leaned back in his chair and laughed comfortably, shouting. The recovery potion flushed all that poison right out. At the same time, a notification window popped up. Obtained poison resistance attribute. Director Choi appeared from nowhere, rushing over with a bunch of recovery drinks in his hands. He sat down in front of him and said, If you need more, feel free to take as much as you want. Kim Junsu shyly replied, All right, this should be enough. Suddenly, Director Choi's face fell as he looked down sadly, blaming himself. By the way, I really don't know how to apologize enough. It seems that at that time, when I was preparing the elixir for us, the information was leaked. I should have known better than to trust my employees like that. Kim Junsu replied awkwardly, Hey, it's okay. I ended up drinking the elixir anyway. Director Choi then put on a furious face, shouting at him, What, you already drank the elixir? Kim Junsu sheepishly replied, If I hadn't drunk it, then I never would have been able to save you, Director. Director Choi held his head in despair and cried out, No way. You actually had to use the elixir just to save me. Kim Junsu smiled and thought it wasn't really because of him, but whatever, I'll just let him think what he wants. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. Director Choi panicked instantly and asked, What could the Dagger Gang be here already? He began to shake uncontrollably and asked Kim Junsu, "Kid, what are we supposed to do?" Kim Junsu said calmly, "Looks like we have some guests, so let's go welcome them." Opening the door, Director Choi blurted out in surprise, "The Iron Fist Gang." Kim Junsu said with a cheerful smile, "There you are." Kim Iron Fist frowned and replied, "I didn't expect you to take out the Dagger Gang so soon. I knew you weren't just some ordinary guy. So why did you call me here?" Kim Junsu thought to himself, "Because it's time for me to collect my reward." Mission accomplished. The Iron Fist Gang and the Dagger Gang are rivals, currently at war over control of the Silim territory. In the game, the tutorial requires the player to help the Iron Fist Gang eliminate the Dagger Gang. The Iron Fist Gang gives out massive rewards for taking down the Dagger Gang. Kim Iron Fist asked suspiciously, "So do you plan on starting a new organization or something?" Kim Junsu quickly waved it off and replied, "No, running an organization isn't really my style. The reason I called you here today is to tell you that you can have the territory that the Dagger Gang has been holding all this time." Kim Iron Fist asked in surprise, "What?" Kim Junsu explained, "I prefer flying solo. Besides, I have no intention of stepping into the underworld either. So this is to pay back the debt from last time." Kim Cheol-guan asked back with a skeptical look. I don't lose anything by accepting that offer. But it seems a bit much compared to the debt you owed me from before, right?" Kim Junsu smiled cheerfully and said, "Looks like we're on the same page now. Because thanks to me, you now own the entire Silim territory. So grant me one wish." Kim Cheol-guan asked in surprise, "A wish? Besides, if I were to grant you a wish, what would you even wish for? Tell me first." Kim Junsu thought to himself, "Of course, it's something everyone in Seoul wants." Then putting on a peculiar expression, "Just hook me up with a house and we're good." Kim Cheol-guan furrowed his brows and asked, "Wait, did you say a house?" Kim Junsu began to explain that, ever since he started operating solo in this sketchy world, he realized that he should have a place of his own, something somewhat decent. Hearing that, Manager Choi poked him in the side, but accidentally hit his previous wound, making him scream out in pain. "I got hurt while fighting the Dagger Gang." Manager Choi flinched, backed away, and said, "I'm so sorry. Does it hurt bad?" Not wanting to waste more time watching them fuss over each other, Kim Cheol-guan said in a deep voice, "Well, fine. After all, you did manage to escape those Dagger Gang bastards. It's a deal." Kim Junsu laughed gleefully and replied, "You're pretty straightforward, big bro. I like that." Then Kim Cheol-guan asked further, "So what kind of house are we talking about? A luxury villa? Or just a simple apartment?" Kim Junsu replied immediately, "None of the above. I need a house in a low population area, with top-notch security and soundproofing too. And along with that, specifically a training facility in the basement." Kim Cheol-guan crossed his arms and thought for a moment. Meanwhile, Kim Junsu thought to himself, "Come on, mention the house I'm thinking of." As if he had just remembered a place, Kim Cheol-guan spoke up. "I know a house just like that. It's a house on the outskirts of Silim, along the Jeonnyubong range." Inside, Kim Junsu was grinning with pure joy, but on the outside he tried to keep his cool. He smiled slightly and thought, a house located on the slopes of the Jeonnyubong range? There couldn't be a more perfect place to serve as the first base for a player in Ascension Seoul. The scene then shifts to the house on the slopes of Mount Jeonnyubong. Kim Junsu chuckled triumphantly, relaxing in a chair, and couldn't help but exclaim with excitement, "So this is that living the dream feeling, when you finally get your own place." He then walked up to the balcony railing, spread his arms wide, and said, "I'm loving this vibe, so relaxing. The view from here is gorgeous too. This house is seriously top tier. When I first dropped into Ascension, I didn't even know what the hell was going on. My hospital bills even cost around 20 million won. But now I've got this magnificent house, grand as a mansion. Not only that, but I also have the financial backing from the #1 security organization and Director Choi. At this rate, I wouldn't care if I was hospitalized for a whole year. But this is Ascension Seoul. I can't get complacent now. Once the game's plot progresses further, vile scumbags like the Saints will appear and devastate the city. So now it's time to look for the real reason I chose this house." Immediately after, Kim Junsu walked into the underground training room. Approaching a wall, he kept tapping on it and said, "It's got to be around here somewhere. Let's get to work." And immediately Kim Junsu raised the pickaxe, striking the wall with immense force, causing the wall to crack and crumble down, leaving a large hole as he stood there in daze. Then he flashed an excited grin. "Looks like my traits are finally kicking in. I'll probably finish this way sooner than expected." After a while of struggling with the debris and the pickaxe in hand, the protagonist's body was completely drained. Looking at his entire body, there wasn't a single ounce of strength left. Sooner than expected, my ass. I had no idea it was this deep. Then, fueled by some supernatural second wind, Kim Junsu shouldered the pickaxe and continued digging like a madman. Come on, I can't give up this easily. Show yourself already. Boom. One powerful swing shattered everything around him. Seeing pure water gushing out like a mountain spring, the protagonist couldn't hide his excitement. Dancing and shouting, "Here it is." Then he immediately approached the water source, mouth wide open ready to gulp it all down, happily catching those precious drops. His whole body was enveloped in a cool blue aura. After drinking his fill, he looked absolutely blissful and overjoyed. This tastes so damn good for real. Looking up at his hands surrounded by the refreshing blue mist, the protagonist couldn't contain his happiness. I can feel it. My body is slowly recovering. So this is the effect of a mana spring. A spring overflowing with mana. A genuine mana spring. Even characters whose HP has dropped to 0 can recover rapidly when immersed in a mana spring. And furthermore, the vast majority of debuffs disappear too. What an incredible hidden feature. A place where you can access a mana spring completely for free like this? There's really no place better than this house near the Jongyubong range. The first base of the Iron Fist gang. Anyway, in order to get this house, I've been through a lot of rough patches. It's not like a video game where you just click a mouse and you're done. This place is so brimming with vitality that you can easily feel its effects. After soaking for a while, relaxing under the pure, cool water, the protagonist grabbed his sword and stood up feeling refreshed. A mana spring really is a wonderful recovery therapy for training. Then he began to draw his sword from its scabbard. With this, even if I train until I'm dead tired, I can just soak for a bit and get back to it. It's absolutely goated. He wore a satisfied smirk as he delivered a straight downward slash. Now it's time for the only F2P player to grind the ranks, with super efficient, pro-level training. By now it was already getting dark. The protagonist entered the training room with sword in hand, thinking to himself, I've been locked in this training room for 2 weeks now. I can activate the black fire pretty smoothly now. At that same moment, mysterious black smoke enveloped his body. The protagonist began to concentrate his power. Blue energy started to gather on the blade, rapidly glowing brighter. He swung the sword high and delivered a strike. Mountain-breaking swordsmanship. First form, Mountain Crusher. Next, he slashed horizontally. Mountain-breaking swordsmanship. Second form, River Mountain Splitter. And finally, with a powerful thrust forward, mountain-breaking swordsmanship. Third form, Mountain Heart Piercer. He looked at his sword with joy, admiring the incredible moves he just pulled off. Oh, nice. Now I can use mountain-breaking swordsmanship, simultaneously with Blackfire. Plus, I've gained some super useful traits during my training too. Low/level 1 fire resistance, and meditation for mana stability. The protagonist began to ponder, well, training's done. There's just one more important thing to do. The mana refinement ability isn't something I can get just through training. If I had refined the elixir before drinking it, I probably would have hit rank 3 superhuman already. But since I'm only at rank 2 now, I don't have much mana inside my body at the moment. He looked down at his hands, calculating his next move. To fully absorb the mana from the elixir and reach rank 3, I need that mana refinement skill. Of course, it's not easy to find, but getting it would be worth a fortune. He recalled his time in reality before being transported into the game. Back then, he had visited a certain shop. The owner asked him in surprise, "You really want to buy this? It's been sitting in the warehouse for almost 15 years. He replied, "I'll take it." Immediately, a notification popped up on his phone. "You have purchased the mana refinement skill." Back home, he sprawled out on his bed, grinning. I must be the only one who knows the mana refinement skill. Could be bought at that old antique shop. Back to the current reality within the game. His face was flushed with excitement. Time to hit up the Singwon commercial district and head to that antique shop. With that, he started running like a madman, his face beaming with pure joy. Level up, here I come. But life isn't always a dream. Upon reaching the shop, the door was tightly shut, leaving him completely devastated. What's this? He looked at the lock. Chains were wrapped several times around the door. He wondered, why is it closed? And the door is even sealed with mana, so that no one can get in? The Singwon commercial district is the place with the most shops in the area. There's no reason for this place to be closed. He looked at the neatly handwritten notice hanging on the door. Closed until the situation at Singwon Market stabilizes. Kim Jun-soo was beyond shocked. In the game, this place was open 24/7. Why the hell is it closed now? He glanced around suspiciously. The scene was eerily quiet. The protagonist couldn't help but mutter in shock. What the? Most of the other shops are closed, just like this one. Is the world of Arcs and Soul different from what I know? Not far away, a single shop had its lights on. Outside the door, a man sat deep in thought, smoking a cigarette. Kim Jun-soo quickly approached and asked, "The market hasn't been doing so hot lately, huh?" Seeing someone coming to ask, the man quickly turned to look, then let out a long sigh and turned away. "Can't you tell, kid? I'm tired as hell. With those punks constantly coming to brawl, you think any customers would bother showing up? The protagonist looked surprised and asked, "Punks? Wait, I thought the Iron Fist gang was in charge around here." Hearing that, the man's attitude became even more agitated. He quickly waved his hand to dismiss the idea. "Ugh, Iron Fist gang my ass. Ever since the Dagger gang got wiped out, all kinds of gangs have been at each other's throats non-stop. The Iron Fist gang, the Venom gang, and even the Naked gang." The protagonist frowned and said, "The gangs are warring with each other." Then he fell into thought. "Ah, so that's what's happening. In the original game's plot, the Iron Fist gang defeated the Dagger gang themselves and claimed sovereignty over their turf. That's why Singwon market naturally fell under the control of the Iron Fist gang. But this time I was the one who handled the Dagger gang. Because of that, this whole market has become a free-for-all battlefield for the other gangs." He rested his chin on his hand, calculating his next move. What should I do? While he was lost in thought, suddenly a loud shouting match erupted from the building across the way. "Look at these morons! Kick them out now!" Hearing the noise, the protagonist turned his head to see. The man, clearly used to this, just sighed. "Geez, there they go again." Kim Junsu looked over with a sharp, cold gaze and said he needed to check out those thugs first. Meanwhile, on the street across the way, a man was shoved to the ground, slamming hard into some cardboard boxes, covered by a red cloth at the roadside. A foot stomped down firmly as a threatening voice barked, "Are you guys brain dead or something? I told you this intersection is the Venom gang's turf. Got it, now beat it, you Iron Fist losers. Crawl back to your slums." As she spoke, she flicked out her forked tongue and threw up a middle finger. She was Gung Hyo-ja, a sub-boss of the Venom gang. Character rank N, rank 2 superhuman. After hearing that, the young man who had just been beaten bloody raged and cursed at those bastards. Cutting through the tense atmosphere, another gloomy voice drifted in. "Ahem! What kind of trouble are you people making in our territory?" As the voice rang out, everyone turned to look. In front of them was a group of freaky men, wearing only underwear and slippers, strutting arrogantly toward them. Gung Hyo-ja's face went pale with fear. "Damn it! The naked pervs are here." The fat guy in the red cloak didn't even bother with her words. He raised his hands and let out a smug laugh. "This intersection is managed by the Naked gang, and he was Kopodam, a sub-boss of the Naked gang, character rank N, rank 2 superhuman." Gung Hyo-ja found it ridiculous. She stuck out her tongue and barked. "Don't talk trash. Get lost," the exhibitionist said in a low tone. "Do you guys really want to keep trespassing like this?" Witnessing this scene, the man who had been beaten earlier started thinking fast. "These psychos. I need to get the hell out of here fast." Interrupting his thoughts, the protagonist suddenly stood beside him and said, "Yup, it's a total mess." The man looked up in surprise. "Huh, you're the superhuman who wiped out the Dagger gang." The protagonist looked over and quickly helped him up. "What are you doing? Get up and get to work." "Wait, what do you mean by that?" Right after that, the protagonist shifted his gaze toward the two who were arguing and shouted, "Hey, you bird-brained thugs, stop brawling and huddle up over here." The man in the suit felt uneasy, waving his hands. "Hold on. What exactly do you think you're doing?" The protagonist glanced back and replied, "Chill out. I'm helping you out." Then he immediately thought to himself, "To get this market back to normal, I need to establish a clear hierarchy. It's best to help the Iron Fist gang. Both of these guys are rank 2 superhumans. If I go all out, I can still win, but there's no need to involve the merchants. In that case, I have to flex my power and show them what I'm made of first." Heh. The protagonist instantly opened his equipment menu, drew his sword, and activated Black Fire along with the mana spring. Just as he expected, the two thugs stood there with their mouths agape. "Huh? What the? This mountain-cleaving swordsmanship and this divine aura, is it? Could you be the superhuman who single-handedly purged the entire Dagger gang?" Kim Junsu gave a calm smile of acknowledgement. "That's right, and this time I'm feeling generous. I want to make a request that you people have no right to refuse. Instead of making things complicated, let's settle this with a duel. The winner gets the right to control the market. What do you think? Sounds like a fair deal, right?" Gung Hyo-ja screamed out in fury. "Do you think I'm an idiot? Why would I agree to a duel with a warrior?" Kim Junsu gave a playful smile and said, "Don't worry. We'll fight using the skills you're most confident in." After a period of intense negotiation, Kim Junsu turned back to the exhibitionist and asked, "So your special ability is mind control? If I can resist it, I win." Kopodam blushed and gave a bashful laugh. "Hey, it's such an honor to have a handsome guy like you, knowing so much about me." The exhibitionist sidled up, looking totally thirsty, and made an offer. "Why don't we just skip this pointless fight? You could join the faith of the primitive goddess with us instead." After hearing that, the protagonist turned his face away in pure disgust. "Gross. Why would I ever join your gang? Use your brain for a second. Your faith doesn't even make the cut for the 7 second-tier religions. It's clearly just some no-name cult. Why would I join a fake sect? That's not even on the Westphalia list. Hearing the protagonist's arrogant words, the exhibitionist was livid and started screaming. You truly are a heathen. I'll make you fix that attitude of yours. With the love and mercy of the goddess, now get on your knees before me and I'll grant you the grace of an audience with the goddess. Immediately after saying that, he swung his hand toward Kim Junsu, using a spell to create a blue orb. The mana radiating from that blue orb wrapped itself around the protagonist, making him think, a priest-level mind control trait? It really is powerful. I feel like kneeling down right this second. But shaking off those crazy thoughts, the protagonist quickly regained his composure and landed a knockout punch right in the exhibitionist's face, sending him tumbling backward with a bloody nose. Watching him lie there unconscious on the ground, the protagonist raised his fist and thought, sorry about that, pal. But suddenly, the system window behind him flashed divine power resistance, making the protagonist flash a bright white grin. Smiling ear to ear, he thought further, even if you're a goddess, don't mess with me. While Kim Junsu was busy with his thoughts, the exhibitionist's 2 henchmen quickly rushed over to support him. Lord Podam, are you all right? Let's retreat for now. After the naked gang had left, Kim Junsu turned to Gung Hyolja and said, your turn. Gung Hyolja arrogantly shoved her hands in her pockets, laughing triumphantly as she spoke. Oh, you're not half bad, are you? But let me tell you something first. The Venom Gang is on a whole different level, compared to those weirdos from earlier. Kim Junsu gave a confident smirk and said, I wouldn't be so sure. Gotta try it to find out. Your special ability is brewing poison, right? Give me the nastiest stuff you've got, and I'll drink it. Gung Hyolja flicked out her long snake tongue with an incredibly arrogant look on her face. Fine. If you've got a death wish, I'm happy to help. Seeing this, the guy in the suit from the Iron Fist gang hurriedly grabbed the protagonist's arm to stop him. Hey man, I know you're strong, but drinking their poison is straight-up suicide. Kim Junsu looked back, gave a cheerful smile, and said, don't sweat it, I've got this. Gung Hyolja immediately pulled out a cup of poison, held it up to his face, and said, drink up, if you survive, you win. If you die, I win. Holding the vial of poison in his hand, Kim Junsu couldn't help but feel anxious as he thought, just as I expected. She gave me the picnic co. This is the type of poison that causes the most excruciating pain they have. Bringing the vial close, the protagonist complained, man, this smells rank. If I don't die, get ready to catch these hands. Gung Hyolja jumped for joy and added, don't even dream of asking for an antidote after drinking it. Sorry, but that's not happening, babe. With that, he immediately chugged the vial of poison in one go. The young man behind him watched in sheer terror. After the vial was empty, his body began to turn dark. He collapsed to his knees with a thud, dropping the empty bottle. He appeared to be in extreme agony. Gritting his teeth, he thought, damn it. It feels like my blood is boiling. Looking at the protagonist's body trembling in pain, Gung Hyolja arrogantly kicked at him and mocked. You can feel it already, can't you? If you beg for your life and bark like a dog, maybe I'll consider helping you out. Hearing her provocations, the protagonist thought to himself, I need to focus. This poison was crafted by mixing various special drugs, so basic poison resistance won't neutralize it. I have to endure as much damage as possible with my healing trait and find a way to suppress the venom. Once he finished his thought, the protagonist gritted his teeth, eyes bulging, forcing all the toxins down into his left hand. Witnessing the scene unfolding before her, Gung Hyolja was startled and completely stunned. She stared wide-eyed and bewildered. He's concentrating the toxins into his arm. As for Kim Junsu, at this moment, the toxins had been compressed by magic into a purple mass, pulsing in the center of his palm. A small game notification window popped up. You have acquired the drug resistance trait. Seeing that he had succeeded, the protagonist lightly flicked his sword up, thinking done. Thanks to this drug resistance, I can now control the toxins using mana. The last thing left to do is, without hesitation, he immediately made a swift, sharp cut, with his blade across that poisoned hand. The deep purple poison instantly gushed out, causing him immense pain. He squeezed his eyes shut and gritted his teeth to endure it. The man from the Iron Fist gang stood nearby, watching his bleeding palm, and asked in shock, Lord, did he concentrate the poison in his arm just to flush it out? Gung Hyolja couldn't believe her eyes either. Scowling in disbelief, she blurted out, No, that's impossible. Suddenly she flinched, staring wide-eyed at the protagonist. Before she knew it, he had already recovered, quickly lunging forward to grab her hand tight. He smirked and said that poison was actually trash. Now it's my turn. Gung Hyolja couldn't react in time, only able to ask herself in terror, since when did he cut off her train of thought. The protagonist quickly grabbed one of her fingers and snapped it hard, Crack! Gung Hyo-ja writhed in agony, veins popping all over her face, as she threw her head back and screamed at the top of her lungs. Then she collapsed to her knees on the ground. Staring at her own finger lying there in front of her, her entire body shook like a leaf. She looked up at the protagonist and threatened him. "You think you're gonna get away with doing this to me?" But the protagonist just tuned out her threats. He calmly raised his hand, picked his ear, and said nonchalantly, "Stop talking like a typical sore loser. Get lost." At that moment, her lackeys came over and patted her shoulder to comfort her. "Let's just go." The big sis dragged her broken body away in a bitter rage. Gung Hyo-ja couldn't hold back her fury, continuously shouting insults back at him. "You absolute bastard! I'm gonna remember your face." Right after watching the two pathetic gangs leave, the guys from the Iron Fist gang were overjoyed, jumping around in celebration. "We won, haha. Serves those punks right, hooray." Kim, our protagonist, watched them celebrate, with a slight smile before glancing off into the distance. He thought to himself that victory was a given, but now comes the real problem. The merchants were standing around talking with grim expressions. A guy with a scar turned and asked, "So the Iron Fist gang won?" An older woman answered with her arms crossed. "Who knows how much they're gonna flex on us now?" Seeing their restless mood, Kim Jun-soo turned to the Iron Fist gang member and asked, "You saw everything, right? You have to report every single detail." The Iron Fist guy, beaming with a huge smile, rushed over and said excitedly, "Of course. Thank you so much. There is one thing the Iron Fist gang must remember about this market." "Yes, what is it, sir?" "Tell them the protection fee for this market must be exactly half of what the Dagger gang used to take." Hearing this, the Iron Fist gang member stood there dazed and blurted out, "What, but then we won't make any profit." The male lead immediately leaned in close with a murderous look, glaring intensely at him, and shot back, "Are you talking back to me?" Terrified, the guy turned his head away and awkwardly replied, "No, of course not. I'm sure our boss will understand." The merchant standing behind, upon overhearing their conversation, immediately started cheering in excitement. "Whoa, protection fees are cut in half. He's the hero of Sinwon Market." Hearing their cheers and praises, the male lead happily thought to himself, "This is exactly why I've been dealing with all this trouble." Right after that, they approached the male lead and bowed deeply. Thank you so much." Feeling embarrassed, the male lead waved his hands dismissively. "No, I just did what had to be done. Just remember to give me a discount later, that's all." But in the back of his mind, he was wearing a wicked smirk, thinking triumphantly, Sinwon Market is a total goldmine. Plus, it boosts my affinity with all the merchant NPCs. Cutting through Kim's devious thoughts, an old man spoke up on behalf of the crowd. "Of course, anytime. We will give you an 80% discount." The scene shifts to a certain shop. Seeing the male lead walk in, the shop owner welcomed him with sheer joy. "Welcome, superstar. I've heard so much about you from the other merchants. You're the hero who saved Sinwon." The male lead smiled bashfully with his eyes squinting, rubbing his head and fixing his hair as he replied, "I just did what I ought to do, sir." The owner sighed and said, "Geez, don't be so modest. Those thugs have been causing way too much trouble." He then pointed to his arm in a cast and continued, "Look at this. I had to close the shop because I got caught in a scuffle and broke my arm. Oh no. Is it doing okay now?" The shop owner replied sadly, "I was treated with Qigong and luckily it worked. If it wasn't for that therapist, I'd probably still be stuck in the hospital right now." Kim Jun-soo was surprised to hear this, a Qigong doctor in Sinwon. The shop owner raised his hand to confirm, "That's right. Do you want me to introduce you to him? He's top tier." "I'd really appreciate that, but first I need to pick up a few things." The owner happily pointed toward his display stalls. Of course, feel free to look around. We have everything, except for the things we don't have." The male lead flashed a knowing smirk, remarking that there were many high-quality items there. But then he stomped his foot hard on the floor. "Can I take a look at the stuff down there?" This made the shop owner jump in surprise. With a bewildered look, he asked the male lead, "How did you know?" The male lead then put on a smug face, grinning from ear to ear with his eyes practically closed, and replied, "I have my ways." Then he boasted to himself, "Don't underestimate a gaming addict with 10,000 hours of playtime like me. Is there any secret I wouldn't know?" Heading down to the shop owner's secret basement, the man pulled the door open, while turning back to chat with Kim Jun-soo. "I rarely let first-time customers see this, but since it's you, I'll make an exception." The male lead grinned and scratched his head shyly, replying, "Thanks a lot, sir." The door began to open, revealing a variety of items that were glowing within. The owner introduced them. "This is my collection of magical artifacts. Take your time looking around." Stepping inside, Kim Jun-soo chuckled gleefully, eyeing an inverted cross infused with red magic, displayed in a glass case. In a flash, he shifted his attention and picked up an ink-stained white cloth nearby, thinking to himself, I already had plenty of unique items back when I played the game. After geeking out for a bit, finally, the male lead found exactly what he was looking for. He stared at it with a strange intensity, grinning gleefully as he thought, but above all else, he immediately rushed over and picked up a horn wrapped tightly in yellow paper. He thought happily, the flute of the ancient god. This thing seals a monocultivation technique. This is the jackpot. His eyes suddenly sparkled with excitement. In an instant, they turned into bright high beams as he looked back with a wicked grin. Now that I have these top-tier items in my hands, it's time to put them to good use, heh. After rummaging around for a while, Kim Jun-soo picked out a pair of glasses, a small plate filled with colorful diamonds, a pair of white gloves, and the horn that he had his eye on since the beginning. Placing them on the checkout counter, he said, "These are the items I'll be taking today." Whoa, as expected, you have a great eye. The shop owner's fingers blurred as he hit the calculator keys, but he didn't miss a beat as he chatted away. 5 colored diamonds, magic glasses, magic gloves, and the flute of the ancient god. These are all rare finds. Your total comes to 2 billion won. Hearing this, Kim Jun-soo completely froze. His eyes bulged and his jaw nearly hit the floor. Turning pale, he said in a shaky voice, "Good Lord, 2 billion. The shop owner waved his hand jovially. "That's the price for strangers, but since you're the guardian angel of this market, I can give you a much fairer price. For you, it's 500 million won." Kim Jun-soo let out a huge sigh of relief. He placed a stack of cash on the table. "Chunbok, you almost gave me a heart attack there. Here's the payment." Then he thought to himself, an 80% discount from an NPC thanks to high affinity? That's awesome. He quickly tucked his purchases into his bag, thinking, now, all I need to do is find a priest-class superhuman who can unseal this item. And of course, I've already got a lead on where to find them. Snapping out of his thoughts, he looked up at the shop owner and asked with a cheerful smile, "By the way, could I get the address of that Qigong therapist?" By now it was late afternoon. The sun was slowly dipping behind the mountains, painting a warm and poetic sunset. The male lead hurried to a room's door and knocked, knock, knock. "Anyone home?" After waiting impatiently for a while, Kim Jun-soo pressed his ear against the door, listening for any movement inside. "Looks like he's out," he thought. As the words left his mouth, the door swung open with a voice saying, "What do you want this early in the morning?" The door accidentally smacked the male lead right in the face. Looking at the lovely face standing before him, he thought to himself, "Oh, white hair and a pale complexion. Bingo, this is the guy I'm looking for." Then he let out a laugh and said, "It's already afternoon." "You call this early morning?" The shy kid replied, "To me it is, anyway. What brings you here?" Kim Jun-soo acted friendly and said, "Well, I heard your treatments are top-notch." Upon hearing that, the boy perked up instantly. He threw the door wide open and said with a bright face, "Oh, so you're a customer. I thought you were one of those damn thugs. My bad, please come in." Stepping inside, the boy pointed toward the bed and asked, "Here, you can lie down here. Where are you hurt?" Ignoring his words, Kim Jun-soo stared intently at a statue, thinking, considering this statue is here, it's definitely him. Seeing the male lead hesitate without saying a word, the boy turned around and asked, "What are you doing? You can just lie down on that bed over there." The male lead quickly turned back to explain, Well, the truth is, I'm not here for a checkup." At the same time, he reached into his bag, pulled out the tightly wrapped horn, and held it out. "I'm here to ask you to break the seal on this." The boy jumped, asking in confusion, "Break the seal?" Regaining his composure, he waved his hands repeatedly in refusal. "I'm just a Qigong therapist." "That looks like a holy seal. You should go to a temple and ask them for help." Kim Jun-soo stood his ground. "No, because places like that charge an arm and a leg, and they might even confiscate my item." And immediately, he opened his bag full of cash right in front of him. The young man continued, "If you can unseal this item, I'll give you 100 million won, Priest Kim." After seeing that mountain of cash and having his real name exposed, the boy flinched slightly. "How do you know my name?" Kim Jun-soo grinned. "Of course I do." Then Kim Jun-soo thought to himself, Priest Kim is the third guide character in Ascension. He's a priest of a forgotten religion, serving a god who vanished 3,000 years ago. He's one of the few truly pure and kind-hearted characters in the game. In Ascension, with so many corrupt priests around, it's hard to find someone with a heart as warm as his. And then Kim Jun-soo started having some wicked thoughts. In other words, I can totally play him. Seeing the male lead standing there dazed and silent, the boy spoke up to interrupt him. How do you know that?" Kim Jun-soo pushed the horn into Priest Kim's hands. "I'll keep your secret," he said. "So please help me out." The boy nervously reached out to take the item. "But I don't think this will be an easy task." All right, I'll give it a shot," as expected from a nice guy. After saying that, the priest placed the horn on the floor. He frowned, focusing intensely on the artifact. Next, he cast an incantation that enveloped it. The ceiling layer slowly began to be bound by his spellcraft. The two forces clashed, resisting one another. Priest Kim squeezed one eye shut, gritting his teeth as he pushed back against the seal. Whoa! It worked just as the priest finished speaking. The sealing cords on the horn began to unravel. Bit by bit, a corner of the artifact inside was revealed. In an instant, the entire seal was torn away, exposing the artifact's original form. At the same time, an info panel popped up with a notification, Item Flute of the Ancient God, able to obtain the Inheria cultivation technique. Priest Kim still couldn't believe it. He asked himself in shock, did it actually work? Standing nearby, the male lead wasn't surprised at all by Priest Kim's power. He stared at the horn and praised him. Wow, as expected of you. This is amazing. Priest Kim startled, pointing at the horn and asking, oh my god, is this a mana cultivation technique? The male lead took the horn and replied awkwardly, yeah, thank you so much. So now, immediately after, the male lead brought the horn to his lips. He took a deep breath and blew. Golden magical sounds spread throughout the entire room. The magic from the artifact surged through his body, permeating every cell and blood vessel. Sensing a strange feeling, he thought in amazement, oh, the mana that used to go to waste in my body is now being absorbed efficiently. This is legit amazing. It's like the calm currents of the Nordic seas have entered my body. At that moment, a notification appeared. You have obtained Inheria Cultivation Technique Level 4. Kim Junsu couldn't help but think excitedly, in about 2 weeks, I'll be able to absorb all of this mana and reach rank 3 superhuman. Witnessing the supernatural phenomenon that just occurred, Priest Kim looked incredibly hyped. He clapped enthusiastically in admiration. This is the first time I've ever seen a warrior-class superhuman use a mana cultivation technique. The male lead slowly walked toward the bed, sat down and replied, yeah. Well, that's not exactly the common sense you're used to. Seeing Kim Junsu looking drained, Priest Kim said, oh, you must be exhausted. You can lie down right there and get some rest. Shortly after, Kim Junsu sprawled out on the bed, trembling. There's way too much info flooding my brain. I'm totally wiped out. All right, then, I'll count on you to look after me for a bit. Priest Kim happily agreed. Sure, just make yourself at home. You're paying me a ton of money, so stay and rest as long as you like. The protagonist closed his eyes and curled up, thinking to himself, he really is a good guy. Just like in the game. It's a relief I found a priest I can actually trust. He'll be a great asset in the long run. This will definitely pay off later. After dozing off for a while, Kim Junsu was startled by a noise. He bolted up and asked, what's that sound? Right then, some kind of liquid was being poured all over the money bag on the floor. Seeing Priest Kim acting bizarrely, the protagonist asked in shock, what the heck are you doing? Priest Kim coldly set aside the empty gas can onto the floor. With a lighter flicked open in his hand, he said with a determined look, O forgotten God, accept this believer's offering and be resurrected. He then slowly let go of the lighter. Witnessing this insanity, Kim Junsu thought in a rage, what the hell? What is even going on right now? Snapping back to his senses, the protagonist rushed over, snatched the lighter and yelled, are you out of your mind? The struggle sent both of them tumbling onto the floor. Kim Junsu kept shouting furiously, you idiot! What the hell do you think you're doing? Is this even your business? You were seriously going to burn the money for an offering. Priest Kim frowned and shouted back, I have to burn all the money as a sacrifice to the god. Hearing this, the protagonist's eyes nearly popped out of his head as he asked in shock, what money as an offering? Priest Kim shoved our protagonist away and explained with a sigh, because our god only accepts cash, and it's the only way to receive power. Kim Junsu realized with a blank stare, so that's it. I guess at this point, you still have faith in the divine, huh? Hearing that, Priest Kim got a massive headache and asked back, excuse me, what exactly do you mean by that? Kim Junsu thought to himself, the god that Priest Kim worships died 3,000 years ago. Even in the game, this religion had almost zero power. Until Priest Kim resurrected that god and obtained the training method. Still, I didn't think he wouldn't even know how to serve his own god properly. Snapping out of his thoughts, the protagonist closed his eyes in disappointment and said, your method is all wrong. You shouldn't be burning cash like that. You have to burn and vaporize gold. Priest Kim started asking gold. What you're saying sounds like the words of a heretic. Kim Junsu quickly cut him off. But you've never actually tried it, have you? Priest Kim turned away in annoyance. Don't talk such nonsense. Our church has established and practiced this for thousands of years. Kim Junsu immediately argued back. But there must be a reason why your god hasn't been resurrected yet. Don't you think so? Priest Kim turned away and began to sob uncontrollably. It hurts so much. The protagonist then turned to him with a suggestion. Right now it's pretty hard to burn actual gold, so I have an idea for a different way. Hearing that, Priest Kim suddenly turned around and asked, a different way? The protagonist smiled confidently and winked at Priest Kim, saying, "That's right. Since you helped me with the mana cultivation technique, let me return the favor, Father." A moment later, a fire was crackling in the hearth. Something is being cooked, melting down into a thick golden liquid. Priest Kim looks on curiously, staring at the vague substance before his eyes, but tries to stop him out of fear. "I really don't think I should be doing this. Let's just stop here." Kim Junsu ignores the priest's words. He intently scoops it spoonful by spoonful into a cup, reassuring him. "Trust me, once you drink this gold, your divine power will increase significantly. Focus and feel for it. See if your god responds." Priest Kim hesitates, taking the cup with a worried expression. "Honestly, if you're that certain about it, I'll give it a shot and trust you this time." With that, Priest Kim gulps it down, swallowing every drop of that golden liquid. Kim Junsu sits to the side, observing, arms crossed with a satisfied smirk on his face. In just a few moments, Priest Kim's eyes roll back in his head. He's stunned as a golden surge of power begins to spread throughout his entire body. After witnessing the scene, the protagonist approaches excitedly and asks, "How is it?" Priest Kim exclaims in awe. "Oh my God." He quickly looks at his hands in pure joy. "It's real. This is way more effective than burning millions in cash." The protagonist happily explains further, "Your growth will be much faster if you keep doing it this way." Hearing that Priest Kim is overjoyed, his eyes sparkling with gratitude. "I don't even know how to thank you for this priceless information." Oh, as if remembering something, Priest Kim suddenly pauses. "Oh, right." He then generously pulls out a necklace. Holding it out, he says, "Here, this is for you." Kim Junsu stammers in surprise. "Oh, this necklace is..." Priest Kim quickly explains, "It's a holy relic with healing properties. I'm sure my god would be very happy knowing you have this." Kim Junsu acts all humble and says awkwardly, "I mean, since you're giving it to me, I really shouldn't refuse." But inside, he was wearing a totally twisted smirk. He thought to himself, "This deal is paying off way better than I expected." Hey, thinking back, Priest Kim's order actually offered a lot of top-tier quests. Shaking off those thoughts, the protagonist rushed over and grabbed Priest Kim's hands. With a beaming smile, he pleaded, "Father, would you mind if I prayed to your god too?" Priest Kim looked bewildered. "I'm sorry, I don't follow." Kim Junsu grinned from ear to ear and said, "Well, I just want to pay you back." But internally, he was feeling incredibly smug, thinking, "Priest Kim, you're all mine now." Cut to 1 week later, at Kim Junsu's house. The room was filled with plastic bottles of all sizes, each packed with that golden liquid. Priest Kim covered his mouth and begged, "Please stop. I feel like my whole body is turning into gold." Kim Junsu stood behind him, clutching a bunch of bottles, and said with a sinister laugh, "But you need to consume even more." Priest Kim, seemingly at his breaking point, screamed at the top of his lungs, "I'm going to get mana poisoning. If my mana keeps growing like this, in such a short amount of time..." Kim Junsu put on an innocent face and asked with wide, sparkling eyes, I guarantee that won't happen. So just keep praying." After saying that, the protagonist squeezed Priest Kim's cheeks to force his mouth open, then quickly poured a bottle of golden liquid down the priest's throat. He thought to himself, "Don't worry. The 4 tutorial NPCs all have their own unique traits. While the warrior has a powerful body, a priest is immune to mana poisoning. That's what allows him to grow at such an insane speed." Looking at the squeaky clean bottle without a single drop left, Kim Junsu happily flipped it upside down. "Great, you've reached today's goal." Beside him, Priest Kim wept silently. All he could do was cover his mouth in discomfort. Suddenly, the priest stared in shock, down at his body, which was burning with a golden glow. The light continued to spread, enveloping his entire frame, making him feel completely revitalized. Then a blinding flash of light erupted, forcing our protagonist to quickly shield his eyes. A moment later, a system notification appeared. Level 3. Awakening Bishop Priest Kim. Priest Kim was absolutely floored, exclaiming, "Whoa, I can't believe I hit level 3. At this level, I could even become an apostle." Kim Junsu smiled brightly and congratulated him. "That's awesome at this rate. It won't be long now. You'll be an apostle of God in no time," Priest Kim replied with a humble smile. "I'm still a long way from being worthy of that." The protagonist followed up. "Actually, I think you've got more than enough experience to be an apostle. Anyway, since you've reached level 3, you need to convene a regional council to be officially recognized as a bishop." Priest Kim scratched his head shyly and responded, "Yeah, that's what I have to do. I was only able to grow this fast thanks to you. I'll never forget your kindness." On the surface, the protagonist seemed quite composed. He waved his hand dismissively with a laugh and said, "Don't mention it. I just love helping people out." But deep down, with a wicked grin and his tongue practically hanging out, he was thinking something else. "You'd better not forget it. Become a bishop as soon as possible, and bring me those relics from the Order's vault." Interrupting the protagonist's train of thought, Priest Kim timidly spoke up with a request. By the way, could I ask you for one more favor? The protagonist's jaw dropped in surprise. What is it? Priest Kim said with a downcast look. I'm planning to convene the regional council, but I'm a bit overwhelmed going it alone. Could you act as my bodyguard for the meeting? The other bishops will be there too. On the surface, Kim Junsu quickly nodded in agreement. Sure thing, I can do that. Don't even worry about it. But inside, he was laughing like a total creep, thinking, now that I've finished the quest to level him up, it's time to milk his personal quests. The next day at a certain church, Priest Kim and the protagonist stood before a group of priests to hold a meeting. Some of them, after hearing that Priest Kim had leveled up, began to ask him, Hey Kim, you've already reached level 3, right? That's impressive, way to go. Priest Kim's face turned beet red from embarrassment. He scratched his head and replied with a sheepish grin, Thank you so much, everyone. Suddenly at the door, someone walked in with a very hostile voice, shouting, What a pathetic sight. It was an old man with a face as wrinkled as a prune, holding a scepter. He was the bishop of the order. Seeing him arrive, everyone cheered and shouted, Bishop, you've arrived. He roared in anger, questioning them. Who gave you the authority to convene a regional council? Priest Kim was startled and stammered in fear. Well, every priest in the order has the right to organize a council. Before he could finish, the bishop snapped at him. That only applies to normal priests. Things are different for an apostate like you. Priest Kim was confused and asked back, An apostate, what do you mean? The man sneered. Your level jumped to 3 in just 3 months. There's no way you could level up that fast. Through conventional means. You must have sold out your own kind? To obtain such massive divine power, Priest Kim tried desperately to explain that it was nonsense. I just found an incredible way to level up, that's all. Ignoring Priest Kim's explanations, the man pointed his finger and ordered, Shut it. I'm not listening to your excuses. Arrest him at once. The guards following him obeyed and charged forward aggressively. They had only taken a few steps when the protagonist stood up, stomped his foot hard on the ground and said, Now, let's not scare the kids like that. The guards looking for a fight barked, Who the hell are you? Where did you come from? Kim Junsu smirked arrogantly and replied, Me. I'm his bodyguard. Hearing this, the old priest flew into a towering rage. He gestured wildly and yelled, This is internal church business. Outsiders have no business meddling here. Kim Junsu completely tuned him out. He raised his hand, picked his ear nonchalantly and shot back. I already told you I'm the bodyguard. I'm not an outsider. Start making sense, you old geezer. After a long round of explaining, Priest Kim pleaded desperately, Please, everyone, you have to believe me. But he was met only with savage verbal abuse. What? Consuming gold, you heretic. How dare you commit such an abomination and think you'll actually get away with it? Priest Kim turned pale and waved his hands frantically. This isn't heresy. Our God has permitted this. The bishop had a 0 to 60 temper. He lost all patience for any more explanations. He roared, Shut your mouth, you heretic! I will personally cleanse you and offer you to God. With that, he summoned a powerful flame upon his staff and pointed it directly at Priest Kim. In a warning tone, he said, Repent before the eternal flame. The flame triggered a terrifying explosion. Everything in the vicinity was impacted, shattering into countless, tiny fragments. The other priests standing by couldn't help but panic as they stared at the inferno. But just in time, Kim Junsu used his power to summon a shield in front of them. With a sarcastic drawl, he said, Wow, attacking without warning like that. How blasphemous. Seeing that the protagonist was no pushover, the old man was as shocked as he was livid. You actually blocked my magic? The male lead says arrogantly. Are you sure you want to fight an apostle candidate? You piece of... The old priest furious shouts at the top of his lungs. Stop talking nonsense. How do you think a heretic could ever become an apostle? Hearing that, Priest Kim was startled and turned to ask the male lead, Mr. Superman, I'm not sure why you're calling me a candidate. The male lead then pulled a piece of yellow candy out of his pocket, held it in front of Priest Kim and said, Don't worry here, eat this. The old man seemed to have run out of patience to watch the two of them chatting any longer. He kept ranting and threatening. If you don't want to be burned like that guy, step aside now. The male lead didn't want to use force, so he lowered his voice and said, If Priest Kim can prove that he is an apostle, what would you think then? The old priest, after hearing this, immediately froze and asked, What? What? At the same time, Priest Kim knelt down on the ground. With his hands clasped in prayer, a golden aura began to emanate from him. The old priest saw this and shouted in shock, Is this power coming from an apostle? Kim Junsu smiled brightly and thought to himself, Take a good look. Surprised, aren't you? This is why I didn't turn Priest Kim into an apostle. Yesterday, the old priest was so angry he gritted his teeth, unable to believe this reality. No, it's impossible. The male lead cursed in his head, You useless old geezer. Not only that, he's also a complete villain, radiating pure evil energy. I should just get rid of him right here. The condition for Priest Kim to awaken his apostle trait was that he had to swallow a golden relic from another sect. While being accused of blasphemy by a bishop, it won't be hard to turn Priest Kim into an apostle. Suddenly, Priest Kim's eyes lit up. A golden halo appeared above his head, making him exclaim in amazement, "Oh, my divine body!" Kim Jun-soo doesn't waste words. He immediately draws the sword at his side. Pointing it at the old priest's group, he says grimly, "This is an apostle. Now it's time to teach these blasphemers a lesson. Hey, priest, can I ask your God something? Yes. How should I punish these scumbags who are ready to kill their own brothers out of pure jealousy?" And he hasn't just done this one thing. He's committed plenty of other dirty deeds, too. Having his secrets exposed, the old priest asks in a panic. How do you know about that? Priest Kim folds his hands over his chest. After a moment of deep thought, he says to clean house. As soon as those words are spoken, the male lead quickly steps in front of the old priest, pressing the sword against his throat. With a sinister smile, "This is God's word, so I have no choice but to follow it." Right, immediately after that, the male lead coldly delivers a clean cut, sending him straight to meet his ancestors. The accompanying guards stand there dazed after witnessing the scene. The other priest's eyes widen in shock. Some even cover their mouths in pure terror. Kim Jun-soo rests his sword on his shoulder, grinning like a total psycho, thinking to himself that he just took out the trash before it could cause any more trouble later on. Behind him, Priest Kim jumps up in fear, but he was still a bishop of our church. The male lead turns around to set him straight. You don't need to pity him. He got exactly what he deserved. Now what does God want you to do next? Priest Kim joins his hands and prays to the heavens, saying, he says to go to the Levan region, where the Council of the First Church was founded, and offer the port to him. Hearing that, Kim Jun-soo says smugly, "See? I told you gold was the right choice. Go there and start expanding your influence." With that, the male lead turns away, flashing a devious smirk, thinking, "Once this is over, you'd better pay me back for everything I've done for you today." Priest Kim happily bows, "Yes, sir, warrior. I don't know how I can ever repay you. Before you head out, I must give you a gift from our treasury." On the outside, the male lead shakes his head vigorously, pretending, "Oh, that's really not necessary." But on the inside, he is absolutely stoked. "Yes, this is exactly what I was after." That evening, sitting before a divine statue with a sword that is radiating a brilliant golden energy, the male lead says happily, "This reward was totally worth the effort. That priest really hooked me up with some high-value items." He tightly clutches the sword in his hands with an explosion of pure joy. "Finally, my very first holy sword. This thing is worth a fortune, and what else? This holy statue emits a divine aura, filling the sanctuary with holy power. It's a skill that turns a specific area into a safe zone, governed by the owner's will. If an enemy infiltrates, it releases energy to repel or suppress them. In other words, I don't have to worry about being ambushed while I'm training anymore." Saying so, he happily swings the sword, dancing around the room with pure excitement. Then he suddenly raises the sword and says, "Time to play with my new toys." After a hard day of messing around, Kim Jun-soo tiredly enters the bathroom to soak himself in this cool water. A while later, the male lead rises from the water with a weary sigh. His body looks noticeably thinner and is trembling. He grips the edge of the tub and groans, "Maybe I overdid it with the training. Even the recovery potions don't seem to be doing much anymore." But even so, the male lead suddenly breaks into a meaningful grin. A black energy sphere slowly manifests from his palm as he says, "I still have plenty of time to practice my holy light technique and mountain-cleaving swordsmanship. I can feel my strength increasing significantly. It's time to check the results." After a period of grinding through training, immediately afterward, the male lead hurriedly grabs his phone from the table. After listening to the boring hold music for a while, the director finally picks up. Hello there, Mr. Superman. It's been a while. How have you been?" The male lead's eyes crinkle with a wide grin. He beams from ear to ear as he replies, "I'm doing great, director. I was just thinking that I need to get moving and warm up a bit. Is there anything you need my help with?" The director stares intensely at the paper in his hands, sighs, and says, "Well, we actually do have a few issues right now. Do you remember the first landfill?" The male lead knits his brows and replies, "Of course. How could I ever forget that terrifying day?" He then thinks to himself, "That's where I first realized just how scary the sole attributes of those monsters really are." The director cuts him off. The entire cleanup crew that went in there was brutally murdered. That means there are at least 6 mutants lurking there. Sweating in surprise, the lead asks, "For real? Shouldn't we contact the Protection Association?" The old man replies thoughtfully, "Well, you see, government officials have asked us to keep it quiet. They don't want to make a scene." The lead says, "Right. A few heads would probably roll if this got out. So what's the reward?" for cleaning up that mess. The director answers, sounding a bit stingy. 100 million for a rank 1, and 300 million for a rank 3. Plus they're throwing in a relic, an arson rifle with special effects. Hearing that, the lead's eyes light up as he asks, an arson rifle? What kind of effects does it have? The director quickly explains, that depends on you. It's an item once used by the Order's High Father. Hearing this, he seems to remember something. His eyes suddenly widen as he thinks to himself, this is... Then he quickly snickers, thinking, this is an offer I can't refuse. The arson rifle used by the Order's High Father inflicts a black fire effect on anyone it hits. This item is worth a pretty penny. After thinking it over, the male lead puts on an excited face and replies to the old man, all right, I'll head over there right away. The scene shifts to the previous landfill. Dark, ominous plumes of black smoke are surging upward. The male lead, gun in hand, and his gear bag on his back cautiously, steps inside. Around him, mountains of scrap metal, piled high, are constantly emitting a foul, nauseating stench. The male lead can't help himself. He covers his nose with his hand and complains, nobody cleaned this place up. It's only been a few days and it's already this toxic. Wait, something's not right. Suddenly, a notification panel pops up. The male lead thinks to himself in frustration, I can't see clearly into the distance anymore. My line of sight has been restricted. I need to stay alert for an ambush. Within the thick fog, strange noises keep echoing, startling the male lead as he looks around nervously. With a worried look, he thinks, damn it. Monster sounds are coming from everywhere. I can't pinpoint their exact locations. As he's lost in thought suddenly, something comes zooming toward him from behind. The male lead instantly senses the danger. He glances back and thinks, not good. It's coming from behind. Just as he turns his head, a massive bat monster comes into view. With blood-red eyes and razor-sharp talons, it has nearly reached him. The male lead opens fire while cursing like a madman. Die, you disgusting freaks! Volleys of bullets shred into the monster, every single shot finding its mark. It erupts in bursts of green blood, screeching in agony. Seeing the carnage, another monster immediately turns tail and runs away. But the male lead is determined not to let it slide. He continues to fire his weapon like a madman, but it doesn't seem to be working. The male lead wonders, is this one the actual leader? Are its wings bulletproof or something? Giving the male lead no time to think, the monster suddenly pivots back to attack him. It unleashes a massive surge of energy, a purple beam as thick as a pillar, charging straight at him. Fortunately, the male lead manages to dodge just in time. Gritting his teeth, the young man thinks, not good. If I hadn't switched to a defensive stance, I'd be shredded to pieces by now. The enemy is bulletproof, can fly, and has a high agility combo to boot. I'll be at a total disadvantage if this fight drags on. In this case, I have to end it with one precise shot. Having made up his mind, the male lead immediately adjusts his barrel upward, aiming directly at the monster. Focusing with all his might, he waits for the creature to enter his line of fire. The lead coldly holds his breath and pulls the trigger. At that exact moment, the monster is only about a meter away from him. The bullet drills right into the monster's head, causing green blood to spray from the wound like a broken faucet. It then loses consciousness and collapses right on top of him. The impact pins him to the ground under the monster's corpse. Surprisingly, as soon as the monster kicks the bucket, a notification window pops up. You have unlocked the aim attribute. Seeing this, the male lead immediately shoves the corpse aside. He lies flat on the ground with a massive grin, beaming with excitement at his new trait. I won? Not to mention I just learned a high-level marksmanship attribute. Suddenly those strange noises ring out once again. The male lead quickly sits bolt upright. With a look of high alert, he says, damn it! The mutants are swarming here because of the noise. I can't take on a whole horde of them like this. Very shortly after, the male lead's expression takes a 180-degree turn. He lets out a creepy, perverted smirk and says, wait up. Actually, I might be able to pull this off. The male lead stealthily hides in a corner to set up an ambush. With a confident look, he thinks to himself, first I'll wait for them right here. With my stealth jutsu attribute, a few seconds later, terrifyingly deformed feet gradually approach. Monsters with horrific shapes, distorted faces, and slimy lumps clinging to their bodies appear. Once the male lead sees them arrive, he grins widely and thinks, there you go, my little babies. When they're all bunched up in one spot, I just need to wipe them all out with explosives. And it's game over. Having decided, he quickly pulls out a grenade. Seeing them huddled together, he doesn't waste any time. The male lead hurls the grenade straight at the group. Boom! A massive explosion occurs, sending debris and rocks flying everywhere. But he's not done yet. Excitedly, the male lead whips out his gun, aims it at the fire, and says, here are some more toys for you kids. Bang, 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 bang. With that, the male lead unloads an entire magazine, without mercy. Caught between the explosion and the frantic gunfire, the monsters are blown to bits, their remains scattered all over. Satisfied, the male lead walks over laughing heartily, noting that he should use combat tactics much more often. While basking in his victory, the male lead is suddenly struck with shock. Looking around, he spots a group of monsters, resembling ancient mummies slowly closing in. He thinks to himself, "What? These things didn't make a sound as they approached. That's why I didn't sense their presence at all. But these aren't mutants. They're spirits summoned by a dark mage, and there are tons of them." All of a sudden, a device at the base of a monster lights up. A voice echoes out, "Cough, cough. Mr. Superman." The voice is coming from one of the monsters. It has a grotesque face. "Mr. Superman, I have something to say." The male lead freezes instantly, wondering, what the hell? A talking spirit? How are these guys even speaking? After carefully examining the monster's face for a moment, he sees a speaker mounted on its face. The male lead immediately realizes what's going on. Staring with a cold gaze, he thinks, I get it, this guy is talking through that speaker. And the person who wants to talk to me is likely the one who summoned these undead creatures. Interrupting his train of thought, the mastermind's voice continues to ring out. "I want to ask you one thing. Why are you trespassing on our territory?" The male lead replies dismissively, "What your territory?" Then he thinks to himself, calling a contaminated facility territory? Hilarious. Suddenly, as if remembering something, the male lead thinks, "Oh, I see. The 4 protection associations out there, they're supposed to be charities, specializing in cleaning up polluted mana. But in reality, they are one of the most notorious, villainous organizations in Ascension. Cleaning up polluted zones with magic is just a cover for their true nature, which is doing any dirty deed to expand their power. They're definitely behind this incident too. They manufacture crises where the government has no choice but to beg for their help due to their sheer power and influence. Meanwhile, they use these incidents as an excuse to get rid of officials who are hostile toward them." Cutting through the male lead's thoughts, the voice of the mastermind suddenly breaks in. "If there's no reason to continue this fight, let me make a suggestion. You are a talented individual. Why not join the Protection Association?" The male lead snickers mockingly. "Join the organization. That triggers mutant creature attacks. At a garbage dump." The mastermind says, "I'm being dead serious. With your skills, you could be in the top tier of the association." The male lead acts like he couldn't care less. He simply flips him the bird and says, "Forget it, kid. Just the name of the association already sounds mid to me. It's not cool at all." The mastermind behind the scenes snaps and says, "It seems you don't know your place. If you don't want to join willingly, then you can join us." After becoming an undead warrior. As soon as he finishes speaking, he casts a spell commanding the horde to charge, and without letting them fool around for a single second longer, the male lead immediately pulls the trigger. Bang, 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 a hail of bullets erupts instantly, creating a massive explosion that tears the monsters apart. Seeing the results, the male lead lowers his gun, chuckles, and says, "Chill out, buddy." But the speaker attached to the face of the monster has been smashed to pieces. Meanwhile, those monsters with mutilated bodies keep getting back up and advancing toward him. He scowls and thinks, "Damn it, firearms aren't doing jack against these freaks. In this case, maybe." Thinking it through, the male lead smirks and pulls a precious sword out of his backpack. Pointing it forward, he says, "The Holy Light attribute should be super effective against dark-type monsters." Suddenly, the mastermind's voice comes out from the body of a different monster. "Hold on, what a sword. Aren't you supposed to be a marksman?" Without letting the mastermind say another word, the male lead begins swinging his sword, slashing directly at that monster. With a surge of transcendent power, a brilliant golden streak follows the blade's path. He then stands there with a satisfied grin and says, "Stop yapping, kid. I'll find you and take you out soon enough." With that, he charges frantically into the horde, slashing with all his might. With every swing of the sword, another limb of an unlucky monster falls to the ground. After a gazillion slashes, the male lead is suddenly caught off guard. The monsters are just keep on coming. He immediately thinks to himself, "Good thing I have superior attributes. I guess I need to switch up my tactics. With these specialized traits, boosting my endurance, plus the special effects of the artifacts, I'll be able to activate 9 attributes: strength, vitality, speed, defense, endurance, perseverance, recovery, holy sword, and magic gauntlets. This should be enough to get by." After activating the attributes, the male lead charges forward aggressively once more. "I'm coming for you guys." But after unleashing his move, the result isn't quite what he expected. 4 waves of sword chi fly out, but they only take down the monsters directly in front. He frowns and thinks, overall it's somewhat effective, but not enough. All right, let's keep going. After that, he unleashes an even larger attack. However, the sheer number of monsters begins to wear him out. Squeezing one eye shut, he thinks, "I'm getting a bit dizzy, wasting too much energy on them. But let's try one more time." With that thought, the male lead dashes forward, simultaneously unlocking yet another attribute. A congratulatory notification pops up again. He blurs forward at high speed, covering a certain distance in an instant, and dealing damage along the way. Despite being exhausted, with sweat pouring down his face, the male lead still manages a satisfied smirk and says, "I did it." The flash dash attribute? Now let's try chaining these attributes together. Saying so, the male lead leaps high into the air, leaving a trail of light in his wake. Then, boom! A massive explosion hits the ground, sending dirt and rocks flying everywhere. Soon after the notification screen displays, "You have unlocked the high jump attribute." The male lead is absolutely stoked. Staring at his attribute panel, he says, "Awesome dash and jump. Breaking out of this encirclement will be a piece of cake. As for these small fries, I can take them out in a heartbeat." With that, the protagonist dashes at a dizzying speed. Everywhere he blurs past, explosions and streaks of light follow in his wake. After an hour, the protagonist finally stops gasping for air. Looking at the monster remains scattered on the ground. The protagonist says, "Cleaning up these weaklings really wiped me out." Suddenly, the mastermind's voice echoes again from behind through the monster's head. "Impressive, I didn't expect you to be a knight. That makes me want you even more." The protagonist turns toward the source, letting out a defiant laugh. He retorts, "If you're so confident, why don't you show your face?" The mastermind replies, "What kind of mage would be dumb enough to go toe-to-toe with a warrior? Here a gift for you, level 2 undead shield bearer." Karen's undead servant. As his words trail off, a massive monster emerges, clutching a shield in one hand and a shovel in the other. It stands imposingly before the protagonist. He looks weary and aggravated, his face twisting as he thinks, "Damn it, I haven't even had time to recover." Without giving him a moment's peace, the giant monster immediately swings its shield at the protagonist. Fortunately, he manages to jump back just in time. But it doesn't stop there. An arrow from the shadows streaks toward him at a breakneck speed, trailing a dark purple aura. It slams right into the protagonist's back. "Ah!" He lets out a cry of sheer agony. Blood sprays from his mouth. The protagonist quickly looks back over his shoulder, thinking, "What the? A combo attack?" At that same moment, the mastermind's voice from behind continues to ring out. "I see your moves are actually not bad. You will be a useful member of my army of the dead." The male lead doesn't hesitate. He decisively pulls the arrow out. With a pained expression, he thinks to himself, "This reminds me of a rule in Axe and Soul. When facing a summoner, you can't waste time fighting the summoned lackeys. You have to hunt down the summoner himself." Having figured it out, the protagonist quickly lunges toward the massive monster, leaping high into the air, while simultaneously swinging his sword up. But it wasn't an attack. He hits the ground and slides right through the monster's crotch, slipping behind it. Then he quickly looks around everywhere, searching for the location of the one who just sniped him. Suddenly, a flash of light appears in the distance, making the male lead gasp, "Aha! There he is up there!" A long-haired guy stands there arrogantly with his long hair looking as sharp as a dagger. At the same time, vibrant purple arrows are also hovering around him. The lead thinks to himself, "Now I can rush him." Talk is cheap. The protagonist immediately flashes away from that giant monster and charges toward the mastermind's location. Long is here screaming in bitter frustration. "This dead rat is only good at messing things up." The mastermind sees the male lead rushing in and shouts out a mocking taunt. "Oh, you finally learned to use your brain a bit." Looking at the ugly guy, the lead suddenly remembers, "Oh, this is Karen, a level 3 summoner. He is the leader of the Protection Association and the final boss of this stage." Shattering the lead's thoughts, Karen thrusts both hands into the air. Veins begin to bulge all over his body, his voice dripping with madness. "But things won't go according to your plan." And then a barrage of spectral hands surges out like lightning, instantly surrounding and restraining the male lead. The protagonist, glancing down at his tightly gripped body, he feels a surge of intense rage. Seeing this, Karen gets visibly hyped. His eyes glow bright red as he lets out a satisfied smirk, saying, "You'll never even lay a finger on me." Now drop dead. With that, he immediately summons arrows that fire straight into the male lead, making his entire body light up, like he's been struck by lightning, knocking him flat on his back. Not wanting to stop there, Karen proceeds to summon an eerie blood orb, laughing like a maniac as he says, "I love the echo of those screams. You really should know your place, my friend." The protagonist, now battered and bruised all over, struggles to look at the orb in Karen's hand, thinking to himself that it's Karen's Dark Fire Ultimate. By now, the spectral orb in Karen's hand has grown bigger by the second. He maniacally declares, "Game over, buddy," but refusing to go out like a total loser and letting things end so lamely, the lead fights back with everything he's got, trying to hack Karen's spectral arms off his body. On the other side, Karen keeps laughing mockingly. "Is that all the power you have? That's kinda cute for a final showdown." The male lead snaps back, "You've got it all wrong. I haven't even gone all out yet. If I equip the right traits, when using skills against a summoner like you, something interesting happens. Did you know that? With that, the protagonist instantly pulls up his trait equipment menu. At the exact same time, Karen launches the spectral orb. Seeing the orb hurtling toward him, the lead says confidently, "It's time." When the Trinity Sword, magic and physical strength, are in perfect harmony, a skill awakens when the user faces true danger. Ultimate sword intent. It can cut through anything visible or invisible. Saying this, the male lead swings his sword, now glowing with massive power, cleaving Karen's spectral orb clean in two. After witnessing that scene, Karen could not believe his eyes. This caused one of his eyes to turn from pink to bone white. His face fell into total despair as he lamented, "God, it's impossible." But the protagonist's target wasn't just that orb. His sword was already closing in on Karen, tracing a beautiful arc through the air. It lunged forward with blinding speed, slicing Karen clean in half. Immediately after, a new trait of the protagonist was activated, the ultimate thunderburst sword art. Only those who have reached the pinnacle of swordsmanship can ever hope to master this. That slash, carrying terrifyingly massive destructive power, caused the ground and rocks to explode. Karen's physical body was completely obliterated in the blast. The protagonist didn't escape unscathed either. He collapsed straight onto the ground. Exhausted and in pain, he groaned, "Ouch. I almost bit the dust right there." After catching his breath, his expression shifted instantly. He let out a satisfied laugh and said, "But still, I managed to take down a rank 3 superhuman, who's also the boss of this dungeon. In the game, to kill him at rank 3, you'd need a full squad. Even at the same rank, players can't solo him, with just basic stats and gear." The protagonist slowly stood up, surveying the scene around him. Smugly he said, "Thanks to grinding for over 10,000 hours, I actually pulled off the win. And now it's time to loot." With that, he broke into a massive grin, eyes squinting, sticking his long tongue out in a totally creepy way. The scene cuts to the director's office. The protagonist, after wiping out the monsters and fully looting the place, walks in satisfied and sits in front of the director, propping his feet up on the desk. Seeing this, the director grins ear to ear, brings over some fruit, and asks, "So you've finished cleaning out that place infested with mutant monsters? That is absolutely goated straight fire." The male lead smiles confidently and humbly replies, "Hey, it was nothing." Caught up in the excitement, the director carelessly thwacks his fan right onto the male lead's arm. He flinches back in pain, grimacing, "Oh, my God. I'm injured right there, man. Take it easy." The director jumps, startled, and quickly pulls his hand back, saying, "Good heavens, it's my fault for hurting your precious body." At that moment, several strangers suddenly appear in the room. A blond young man speaks up with gratitude. "Thank you for stepping in. Mr. Superhuman, I can't believe you took down all those monsters." The male lead gives a modest smile and replies, "Well, I was just doing my job." Suddenly, he slams his equipment backpack onto the table. Thud. His face turns dead serious as he says, "By the way, when I entered the junkyard, something completely separate from the mission came to light. After pulling out all the loot he gathered from the zombie monsters and placing it on the table, the male lead asks, 'Do you recognize these?' Staring at the items before him, the blond man gasps, stammering, Isn't this the mana chip used to create phantoms? And isn't this the type used by Karen? From the Cleanup Association." The male lead confirms, "Exactly, this incident wasn't an accident. It was premeditated." The blond man seethes with anger, slamming both hands on the table as he curses, "Those scumbags from the Cleanup Association." Seeing the man's reaction, the male lead remarks, "Looks like you didn't like them much to begin with." The blond man explains, "They've always charged highway robbery fees. Because of that, we've been going through a rough patch for a long time. While it's true we've had our beef, I never thought they'd go as far as turning innocent people into phantoms." The male lead looks puzzled and wonders, is he completely clueless? But it actually makes sense, because in reality it is clear that the Cleanup Association only recently started making moves, right after the player cleared the junkyard mission. Suddenly the blond man bows deeply and says, "I'm truly sorry, Mr. Superhuman. Because of us, you had to push yourself into unnecessary danger." On the outside, the protagonist waves it off humbly, saying, "I only did what had to be done to take down the bad guys." But inside, he's absolutely hyped. With squinting eyes, a long tongue sticking out and hands gesturing, he thinks, "That's more like it. He better do something instead of just giving me a hollow apology." As if answering the protagonist's silent prayers, the blond man sets a suitcase on this table and says, "This is the reward I promised." The protagonist asks in surprise, "Oh, thanks, but why are you giving me 2 cases? The man grins and replies, "This is the mystic gun, and a little something extra for dealing with such a dangerous situation." As the 2 cases are opened, a pistol and a bottle of some liquid catch his eye immediately. The protagonist tries to keep his cool and says, "Oh, thank you." But deep down, he's grinning like a maniac, thinking to himself, "Is this holy water? I just got this essential essence for free, even though I was supposed to buy it at the shrine. What a W." But suddenly the blonde man gives him a warning. "Please stay safe, Mr. Superhuman. Based on the evidence you've provided, we plan to press charges against the Cleanup Association." Understanding the situation, the protagonist cuts him off. "They're going to come after me, aren't they?" The blonde man quickly adds, "That is correct. But we can't just let this slide." The protagonist says calmly and confidently, "I'll be fine. I'll find a way to survive." As the scene shifts to a certain street, the director's car is cruising smoothly down the road. Inside the car, the director looks worried and says, "Mr. Superhuman, you'd better lay low for a while to avoid the Cleanup Association." The male lead calmly replies, "Well, I don't think hiding is the best move." He then gets lost in thought. After completing the junkyard mission, a player will receive a quest chain related to conflicts with the Cleanup Association. So it's only natural for the player to get dragged into trouble by them. Not to mention I already killed their commander, Karen. The important thing is, the Cleanup Association's quest lines are split into many different branches. Regarding the junkyard mission, the absolute worst thing to do is nothing and waste time. If that happens, the association commander will bring dozens of other superhumans to raid the player's house. In other words, the easiest way forward is to think outside the box. He then turns and asks the director, "Sir, have you heard of a place called Jonyubong?" The director replies, "Of course. That's the restricted zone in East Seoul." "Right. That place is a massive poppy field, so you'll be in deep trouble if you go there." The male lead says bluntly, "That place is under the ownership of the Cleanup Association." Surprised, the man snaps his head over and asks, "What the Cleanup Association? What are they doing with a poppy field?" The male lead then spills the tea. It's not just poppies. They're actually conducting human modification and human trafficking there. An organization that is terrifyingly inhumane. Terrified and furious, the director curses, "What the hell? Are they out of their minds?" The male lead quickly replies, "Exactly. That's why I plan to hit Jonyubong first." The director jumps to the car, swerving, "You what?" The male lead pulls out his phone to show the director, then says, "I need to prep a lot of things. So here is the list of supplies." The director asks in surprise, "Clay and EMP bombs, what's all this? Are you trying to start a war or something?" Moreover, buying all of this is going to cost a fortune. The male lead sighs and says, "Only amateurs worry about money." He then tosses his gear backpack to the director and says, "Here are the items I looted while clearing out those monsters at the junkyard." The director nods slightly, saying with a face full of concern, "I guess this will lower the costs, but I'm a bit worried. I'm worried you can't go up against them alone." The association's chairman is a level 4 superhuman, and the other directors are already at level 3. The male lead replies nonchalantly, "Who said I was going in alone?" The director asks in a panic, "Huh, what?" Seeing that the director is scared, the male lead smiles slightly and turns to encourage him. "You don't need to worry about a thing right now. Just get all the items on that list ready." 2 days later, outside the Jonyubong secret base, armed bodyguards are keeping a very strict watch. The male lead slips around to the back, using his invisibility trait, to attack the balding guy in front of the sofa first. The attack is sudden and decisive. The balding guy collapses instantly, causing the other guy to spin around in shock, raising his gun to resist. Who is it before he can finish? The male lead uses his invisibility and high-speed dash ability to blitz the other guard. And of course the opponent is knocked out cold on the spot. Seeing this, the male lead grins excitedly. "Good grief! No matter how many times I do it, I freaking love stealth missions." "Alright, that's the perimeter guards taken care of." As he speaks, he looks toward the soldiers. He just neutralized, holding up his phone to make a call, thinking to himself, "Time to check the rest of the basement." From another camera angle, a fist slams right into a brown-haired guy's face, instantly mangling his features. After finishing him off, Kim, Iron Fist, calmly pulls out his phone. "Read me, Warrior Kim. Thanks for clearing the way. We've already secured the rest of the underground area. But man, these guys are absolute monsters." While talking, Kim Iron Fist turns his head to the side, looks at the women and children locked behind bars and continues, "Forced human modification and trafficking. This has seriously crossed the line." The male lead quickly replies, "Damn straight. They deserve to be wiped out. By the way, did you check that one spot?" Kim Iron Fist responds, "Yeah, I'm already here. This is definitely a modification lab." The male lead reminds him, "When this is done, you can use it. This stuff will help boost your stats." Kim Iron Fist asks with a skeptical look, "Sounds good on paper. But are you sure we can just snatch this?" From the Cleanup Association, "It'll be a massive pain if we get caught in drama later." The male lead laughs confidently, "Duh. Have you ever seen me do anything without a game plan?" The secret base at Jonyubong is their main moneymaker. but the security is actually pretty mid. So this place is the perfect spot to trigger their downfall. Saying that the lead pulls out a lighter he had prepared beforehand, wearing a twisted smirk, and coldly flicks it on. Scene cuts to the next morning. Stomp, stomp. Stomp hurried footsteps echo. A panicked henchman rushes forward, bursts through the office door, and shouts, "Mr. Chairman, it's an emergency!" At Jonyubong, "Our base has been hit. This dude is Park Daeju, chairman of the Cleanup Association and a level 4 superhuman." Upon hearing the emergency announcement, he shot a menacing glare and asked, "What the hell do you mean?" The henchman rushed into the room and replied, "The one who killed Director Karen has completely totaled our base." Chairman Park slammed his fist onto the table in a rage, making the henchman turn pale with fear. With eyes wide and burning with fury, he gritted his teeth and asked, "How dare he flex on us like this?" The henchman, trembling all over, took something out and handed it to Chairman Park, saying he even sent this. Looking at the photo of the poppy field engulfed in thick smoke, Chairman Park couldn't contain his wrath. He cursed, "That son of a bitch! He actually torched our entire farm." And just like that, the poor phone was smashed to pieces. Back at the base, the association's crew was stunned to see that the place had been turned into a wasteland. Everything had been burned to a crisp overnight. The bald guy, livid with rage, said, "He really burned the poppy field to the ground." The brown-haired guy behind him was breaking a sweat, adding, "That Warrior Kim guy, he's definitely lost his damn mind." The bald guy immediately turned around to order the subordinates behind him. "All we need to do is catch that psycho. Move in fast and handle the situation. Let's show the chairman the power of the External Affairs Unit." With that, the bald guy led the team straight inside. After a few steps, he turned back with a hunch and cautioned, "He might be sniping us from inside the building. Stay sharp." Brown hair nodded and replied, "Roger that. We'll blow him away the second we spot him." Suddenly, a sniper rifle barrel poked out. A henchman urgently announced, "Wait, there's a gun at that window." The bald guy immediately aimed his barrel that way and opened fire, shouting excitedly, "Hell yeah!" "Nice shot." As the glass shattered into pieces, the rifle slowly fell out. The bald guy and the brown-haired guy laughed hysterically and said, "My hunch was right. That was epic, Captain." Suddenly, a strange sound rang out, sending the whole crowd into a total panic. Looking around, then boom, a massive explosion blows dirt and rocks everywhere, along with a few unlucky henchmen. The bald guy quickly realizes and shouts out, "It's a freaking claymore right next to them." Brown hair trembles and asks, "What do we do, Captain?" "Captain, watch out." Right after that, a missile comes screaming toward them. Seeing it, the bald guy turns pale as a ghost. Drenched in sweat, he grinds his teeth and blurts out, "Damn it," watching the camera monitor, where a huge explosion just went off. The male lead laughs like a maniac with satisfaction, mouth wide open and eyes dark circled. He screams, "It was totally worth pulling an all-nighter to plant these mines. Thanks to their unique properties, there's no way they could have detected them beforehand." Hearing the panicking voices of those people, "Run, there are more mines here," the male lead says with pure excitement. "I'm not stupid enough to show my face and take on 100 guys like you. I'll just stay down in this underground control room and kill every last one of you." Saying that, the male lead frantically mashes the trigger button. Then another massive explosion erupts. Chairman Park and a few of his men had to resort to using shields against the powerful blast of that bomb. Seeing that the situation is far from simple, the chairman with a frustrated face says, "He's not what he seems. It looks like he prepared thoroughly. Anyone who dares to provoke us directly is clearly built different." Suddenly, a sword is slammed into the ground. The vice chairman of the Grade 3 Superhuman Security Association, Cybok, immediately steps in and interrupts. "Leave it to me. I have finished analyzing his tactics." Chairman Park, with a look of cunning, growls, "Fine, bring him back alive. I need to kill him in the most painful way possible." Right after that, a grenade is tossed. An explosion goes off within the grenade's range, leading one henchman to say confidently, "It's safe here." The vice chairman, with a calculating look, says, "Very good. Keep tossing grenades to check for traps and move in slowly." Suddenly, another missile comes streaking down from the sky. The vice chairman reacts quickly, lunging forward to kick the missile away, knocking it off course and sending it elsewhere. He then turns around and barks at the scout. "Did you spot where it came from yet?" The henchman immediately replies, "Yes, it was fired from the right side of the rooftop." Instantly, a hail of bullets is unleashed toward the designated target, causing the rocket launcher to be severely damaged. Seeing that his plan is actually working, the vice chairman says arrogantly, "Perfect. We're close to the hideout. Let's show him what hell looks like." Then he glances back with a smug grin and continues, though he's probably getting a taste of it already. At this moment, the group has begun to push inside the building. The male lead still hasn't realized. He's sitting leisurely with his eyes shut tight, resting his chin on his hand and pouting that Cyborg is built different. They really are heartless, aren't they? Not until the alarm starts blaring. Does the male lead jump up in surprise? They're here faster than I thought. The quest. Rookie Killer really lives up to its notorious name. And suddenly the room door is blown open by a bullet. A hand slowly pushes the door open as they enter. Two girls with bombshell bodies, dressed in skin-tight outfits, say with excited expressions, "Why are you hiding underground like a rat? Come on, come out and play with us." Those are Ebony and Viper. Both are rank 3 superhumans and directors of the Protection Association. Right after their grand entrance, the male lead suddenly vanishes right before their eyes, leaving them stunned, asking each other, "Huh? Wait, where did he go? Did he know we were coming?" The male lead has used his stealth ability to stand quietly right behind them, thinking to himself, "Of course I knew." The Protection Association's plan is to cause a ruckus out front, to feign a war of attrition, while the assassin directors strike from behind. I obviously know all of your tactics inside out. Having thought that, the male lead laughs with pure hype, holding a grenade in his hand and hurls it straight at the two girls. Seeing the grenade rolling on the floor, the two girls are startled and wonder, "Huh, is that?" Boom, boom! The explosion goes off. A beam of light engulfs the entire room. Seeing that they are completely unharmed, the two girls realize what's up and scream, "It's a decoy." Meanwhile, the male lead has grabbed his gear and blinked out the door. He even intentionally looks back and waves his hand to troll them. "Spot on, ladies, I don't have time to play around with you guys. Peace out." The blue-haired girl is livid, cursing, "You little pig! Once I catch you, I'm gonna tear you apart." After sprinting like crazy up the stairs, the male lead thinks to himself, "Wait a sec. Those assassins will catch up in no time. I've got to move fast." Suddenly, a volley of bullets is fired, speeding directly toward the male lead. He quickly huddles down, thinking, "Crap! They're already here, I've got to defend myself first." Thinking that the male lead immediately activates Mana Shield and Protection Shield. Then right after, a massive shield appears in front of the male lead. At the same time, the two girls have caught up. They go wild, spraying bullets everywhere. But the shield blocks every single bit of damage. The male lead chuckles and turns away. Acting totally unbothered, he says, "Shoot me. All you want, I'm blocking it all anyway." The girl with glasses says with a confident smirk, "Against our bullets, you really think so?" Boom. A bullet quickly shatters the protection layer, penetrating halfway through the shield. The male lead quickly glances back in shock. His shield finally gets blown to smithereens. After getting hit, the male lead is sent flying forward, landing flat on his back. The girl with glasses lets out a hearty, mocking laugh. "How's that taste? Those are enchanted explosive rounds." The male lead scrambles to sit up, cursing with a look of pure frustration. "Damn it!" Giving the male lead no time to catch his breath, the girl with the bow quickly fires an arrow and says, "Here's a little dessert for you." Before he can even react, the arrow flies true and sinks right into the lead's waist. The agonizing pain makes him collapse to the ground, trembling. Seeing this, the two girls immediately double down on the mocking. "This is nothing compared to the world of hurt. I'm about to put you through." The lead suddenly flips them the bird with a purely provocative look on his face. "Lame. You guys are just villains in tight spandex." The girl in the mask stomps over, screaming in rage. "What did you just say? This will fix that trashy attitude of yours." With that, she delivers a devastating kick, sending the lead flying straight into the grandfather clock in the corner. Watching the lead writhe in pain, the masked girl cackles and says, "Hurts, doesn't it?" It's a potent toxin that hits the arteries. It's almost impossible to endure. They quickly close in on him, grabbing the lead by the collar. The girl with glasses smirks with satisfaction. "Let's just take him to the chairman already." But things aren't going to be as cliché as some mid-movie. The lead lets out a smirk, his expression turning resolute. He grips the four-eyed girl's wrist tight and says, "Welcome to the finish line." Acting is harder than it looks, huh? Hear that ticking sound? Doesn't it ring a bell? What the hell are you talking about? The lead lets out a jagged laugh, his voice dropping. "Sounds like a massive time bomb, doesn't it?" He plants his feet firmly on the ground. Sparking lightning begins to crackle around him. He says gleefully, "All right then, stay there and rot." Then he instantly blinks away from the spot, dashing toward the emergency exit. He thinks to himself, "Both Ebony and Viper are as strong as Karen. In a direct fight, I wouldn't stand a chance. I dropped all my buffs just to play a role, to lure them over to that clock. I had to catch them off guard. Because inside that clock, I've packed a massive amount of firepower. White phosphorus that cost me over $1 billion. Thinking that the male lead grins happily, he looks back holding the remote in his hand and presses the button. "Sleep tight, babes." Only now do the two girls sense the danger. They scream in anger. "It's another trap, that bastard!" Boom, a massive explosion erupts. All that's left are the gun and the bow belonging to the two girls flying out from the wall of flames. At this point, the male lead finally dares to slump down in a corner and catch his breath. Looks like taking out those directors was a success. The enemies are swarming in even more now. I need to recover quickly. especially since I don't know when that robot guy will... Before he can even finish the sentence, the vice chairman and his aggressive goons burst through a shattered wall. The male lead forces a smile and stands up, lamenting his luck. Well, I guess I really did jinx it. On the vice chairman's side, after seeing the gun and the bow of his comrades lying on the ground, he grinds his teeth in fury and growls, "You've already defeated Ebony and Viper." The male lead playfully winks and gives a peace sign, laughing, "And in a bit, you're going to be just like them." Hearing the provocation from the male lead, the vice chairman can't hold back his rage. His eyes turn bloodshot, and his cyborg mouth screams out, "Don't even dream of a peaceful death. I will torture you until you're begging for the end." The male lead pouts with disdain. He crosses his arms confidently and retorts, "Such terrible taste. Next time, try being a little more human." The vice chairman bares his fangs and sharp claws, threatening him. He continues speaking, "This is a waste of time. I'm going to kill you right here." Immediately after those words, as if receiving an order, the goons aim their guns straight ahead. The male lead says gleefully, "As you know, I really dig the way you've upgraded your body. It's way beyond my expectations." The vice chairman whips around in surprise, asking, "What?" The male lead smirks with total confidence, holding the remote in his hand, and says, "Thanks a lot, you morons." The moment he finishes his sentence, he hits the trigger. A series of electrical sparks crackle across the ceiling, sending the crowd into a panic. Wait, this is, and very quickly after, bolts of electricity surge straight down at them, making them scream in agony. What is this? What the hell? Seizing the opportunity, the male lead pulls out his gun, firing wildly toward them as he speaks. An EMP bomb for $1,000,000,000, definitely worth it. EMPs and pistols are my best friends when it comes to dealing with hardware. After a volley of gunfire, the association's men begin to drop one by one. But surprisingly, the vice chairman remains standing tall in an eerie manner. The male lead can't help but gasp in shock. "Impressive. Just how much money did you spend to upgrade your body like that? The EMP didn't even leave a scratch." The vice chairman retorts, "Whatever, I guess. I'll just have to rip you apart and kill you right here." With that, he lunges instantly at the male lead, slashing the gun out of his hand. He follows up with another horizontal slash, but this time, male lead quickly draws the sword from his backpack. As he blocks it, he thinks with a worried look, "Crap. His strength is insane. I'll have to rely on speed to outmaneuver him." Thinking that, the male lead maneuvers to break the clinch and swings, his blade slashing the vice chairman across the stomach. Seeing that the cut didn't do a thing, the male lead grumbles and exclaims, "Are you literally made of metal from head to toe except your eyes? You're such a cheater." The vice chairman doesn't explain, only taunts him. More like, "Your sword is pathetic. It doesn't even tickle." Then suddenly the back of his calves ignite with sparks, followed by a front kick that blasts the male lead away, sending him rolling across the floor. The male lead, in total agony, thinks to himself, "Damn it. His body is shielded by mana, so the sword is completely useless." Before he can even finish that thought, the guy has already lunged right in front of him, attacking relentlessly. With a bloodthirsty look, he says, "What did you think this pathetic body of yours could actually do?" The male lead grabs the vice chairman's leg while trembling, and with a scowl he spits out, "Ha, you're just a piece of filthy machinery." Visibly triggered, the vice chairman raises his razor-sharp claws. At that same moment, the male lead manages to whip out his gun, aiming it directly at him. The vice chairman mocks him at the sight of it. "What is that cute little pistol supposed to do?" The male lead responds with a beaming smile, "Looking at your disgusting body just gave me an idea." The vice chairman says gleefully, "You still don't get that normal bullets. Don't work on me, do you?" The male lead laughs with pure delight and says, "But these aren't normal bullets. Black bullets, enough talk." The male lead pulls the trigger instantly. A black bullet flies from the barrel and embeds itself right into the vice chairman's body. Dark smoke begins to rise and envelop his entire frame. The male lead sits up full of excitement. "Your mechanical body runs on mana, and black bullets can incinerate mana. In other words, once a black bullet hits you, there's no way to put out the fire." Then the male lead's expression suddenly shifts. He puts on a twisted, creepy grin and says, "There should have been a limit to your upgrades, you idiot." Not wanting to waste any more time, the male lead picks up his sword and approaches the vice chairman. "So long." With one cold slash, the vice chairman lies motionless on the floor. The male lead quickly turns to leave. Now only the final step remains. With that, he heads straight for the rooftop, aiming his gun down and opening fire. His face is full of excitement, grinning from ear to ear. It's time to slaughter the entire cleaning association, without a leader. These guys are just running around like a bunch of headless chickens. "Ah, run for it, guys." "Ah." The male lead puckers his lips, eyes closed, laughing playfully. Hearing their screams is like music to my ears. Suddenly, a dark, ominous sound echoes through the air. The male lead quickly realizes something is wrong. He clutches his head, frowning. What the hell is this? My eardrums are vibrating. He's finally shown up, hasn't he? Through the smoke, Chairman Beck stands tall, his eyes red as blood. He steps out, and upon seeing the male lead's silhouette, he roars in fury, "Stay right there, you bastard!" Then, moving his legs with incredible speed, he leaps in a single bound onto the roof. He lands in front of the male lead in a cool, menacing pose. It all happens in the blink of an eye, leaving the male lead jaw-dropped, thinking to himself, "What the? He just jumped from the ground to the roof of a 5-story building." Chairman Beck, with his iron hands and razor-sharp claws, stares down the male lead intimidatingly. "I have never been this humiliated before. I suppose I must punish you for daring to mess with the association." Fast as the wind, he lunges toward the male lead, throwing a powerful punch. Panicking, the male lead grabs his sword hilt, cursing, "Son of a..." But his speed is too great. The male lead is punched flying backward, slamming hard into the rooftop railing. He struggles to stand up through the pain, thinking, if I hadn't switched my attributes to defense in time, I'd be down for the count already. But without offensive attributes, there's no way to beat him. Thinking fast, male lead swings his sword, slicing through the ground. A wave of sword energy streaks like an arrow toward Chairman Beck, but he effortlessly steps aside to dodge it. With a mocking smirk, he says, "Your skills are actually pretty interesting." Seeing that his sword isn't doing much, male lead pulls out his pistol, aims it at him, and says, "How about this then?" But as the bullets are fired, a sphere-like energy shield envelops his body to block them all. Seeing this, he laughs mockingly. "I love it." Witnessing the scene, the male lead thinks bitterly to himself. He easily blocked both dark fire and dark lightning. At that moment, Chairman Beck lunges forward again, startling the male lead. But his speed is just too much. A continuous barrage of punches leaves marks all over the male lead's body. After enduring the beating for a while, the male lead is sent tumbling backward. He thinks he's unbelievably strong. Chairman Beck looks down arrogantly at him, taunting, "Is that all you've got?" The male lead struggles to stand, thinking in his head, "Just as I thought. This was an impossible fight from the very beginning. Beck has been an S-rank character since birth. In other words, I'm just a newbie, and he's totally OP. The power gap between us is insane." Chairman Beck continues haughtily, "Was that your ultimate move? Is that it?" The male lead slowly stands up and replies, "Do you even know how I defeated all of your underlings?" Chairman Beck asks in surprise, What are you talking about?" The male lead answers, "I beat Ebony and Viper with white phosphorus bombs and used EMPs to handle the cyborgs. What kind of surprise do you think I have for you?" The chairman snaps back, "Defeating me is impossible, you moron." The male lead smirks contemptuously and says, "Nope." Then the clothes on his body slowly begin to shred apart. His face starts to distort as he thinks, the only way a rank 2 superhuman can take down a rank 4 superhuman is by triggering mutated body traits, mutated muscles. A moment later, everything, the male lead's body, transforms into a giant monster, looming over Chairman Beck. Witnessing this freakish transformation, Chairman Beck can't hide his shock, muttering in disbelief, "What the hell is this? You turned into a giant." The male lead growls like a total psycho, his eyes rolled back, looking completely inhuman. Then he suddenly snaps back to his senses, thinking, "I'm gonna lose my mind any second now. But I've got just the thing for this situation." The madman's glass is imbued with the berserk trait, granted to the wearer for a limited time. This has the exact attribute I need right now. With that, the male lead grips the glasses tightly. Simultaneously, a notification window pops up. Status acquired inner berserk. Clearing all mental distractions, focusing solely on the battle, unleashing power beyond all limits. The male lead immediately starts drooling, baring his long, razor-sharp teeth, thinking, "Perfect. Finally, I can fight without holding back." Only bloodshed, death, and combat now consume his mind. Breaking out of his thoughts instantly, the male lead throws a heavy punch at Chairman Beck. The chairman frantically raises his hands to his face to block the incoming blow. With a look of pure joy, he says, "I don't know what you just used, but one thing's for sure. Things just got a whole lot more interesting. Let me give it a shot." With that, he immediately breaks free. Suddenly, that frail old body begins to swell, with bulging muscles. He lunges forward frantically with a clenched fist. The male lead looks stoked, swinging his own fist to counterattack. "This is exactly what I wanted." He quickly rushes in, throwing punches and kicks, but Chairman Beck is no pushover. One by one, he parries the male lead's relentless strikes. Then in a split second, an opening appears. The male lead is floored by the chairman's uppercut, sent flying into the distance. He struggles to sit up, thinking, "Damn it. He's got the upper hand." But more than that, the effects of the berserk state are fading. The male lead stands up in pain, thinking, "There's no other way. I have to bet everything on this one attack. Gotta ditch the hand-to-hand combat." Seeing the male lead standing there lost in thought, Chairman Beck asks angrily, "What kind of shady trick are you planning now, kid? I'm finishing you right here." With that, the chairman lunges forward aggressively. But this time, the male lead catches one of his arms in a firm grip. He raises his other hand high, absorbing energy, assuming a slashing stance and saying, "I'll admit you're better at brawling than me. But as you can see, I'm not a fighter, I'm a swordsman, you bastard." As he speaks, the male lead's entire arm transforms into a blade of razor-sharp edge. Chairman Beck is struck with terror. Without giving him a chance to say another word, the male lead swiftly swings his blade arm, stabbing it straight into the chairman's gut. A burst of brilliant blue light is released from the impact. Chairman Beck's face contorts in agony. Blood spills from his mouth as he gasps out, "You can use lightning with just your bare hands." The male lead coldly withdraws the blade from his body. The chairman says proudly, "That was a good fight." Chairman Beck refuses to accept it, using his last breath to curse, "You damn monster." Then he collapses to the ground, motionless. Suddenly, the male lead's body begins to fluctuate again. He looks down at himself and thinks, "Damn it, I pushed way too hard. My body is..." Very quickly, the male lead's body is enveloped by a golden energy that spreads through his entire frame. Then he suddenly returns to his original human form. A notification window immediately appears. Level up successful Gold Warrior, rank 3 superhuman. After realizing what just happened, the male lead flashes a satisfied smile. "Thank God. Good thing I leveled up just in time. Today is definitely my lucky day." Right after those words, his eyes grow hazy, and he collapses unconscious on the ground. Staring up at a familiar ceiling, the male lead finds himself soaking in warm water, looking completely dazed. He quickly sits up, wondering if he's finally back home. At that moment, a familiar figure gradually approaches. "Mr. Superhuman?" Upon seeing the male lead awake, the director can't contain himself and rushes over, hugging him tightly while sobbing uncontrollably. "Are you okay?" The male lead asks suspiciously, "What happened, Director Choi?" Director Choi replies hurriedly, "I really thought you were a goner. Back there. You were lying on the ground with the guys from the protection agency." The male lead realizes what happened and gives a comforting smile. "Ah, so you brought me home. I see." The director then explains, "I noticed you were still breathing, so I placed you in the Mana Spring. You've been out cold for an entire week." The male lead is shocked. "Whoa, really?" Then he quickly checks his mangled hand and laughs. "I've recovered quite a bit already." The director says with total admiration, "You are absolutely incredible. Taking down the heresy agency all by yourself. We've been getting tons of phone calls and requests from the office about this." The male lead beams with excitement and replies, "I knew it, I'm just built different." The director gives him 2 thumbs up, making a face as he confirms, "You're not just special. You're freaking amazing." Hearing all the high praise, the male lead grins ear to ear while rubbing his head. "Aw, stop it, you're making me blush." The director turns serious again and says, "I've gathered the loot from the battle. Take a look and let me know if you need anything else." The male lead replies calmly, "All right, I need to focus on recovery first." And then he adds with a mischievous smirk, "Since I've now leveled up to rank 3, I have somewhere to be." The scene cuts to 1 week later. The male lead stands on the Mana measurement platform thinking to himself, "Now that I've reached rank 3, I'll get my official certification and unlock all sorts of perks. Awesome." Suddenly, from behind, the girl with glasses, who helped him last time, appears again. Beck Soren claps her hands enthusiastically and says, "You're truly amazing, Mr. Superhuman. I've never seen anyone grow as fast as you. You might even found your own nation is the future, right?" After hearing that, the male lead quickly turns around, scratching his head shyly, and says, "No, I wouldn't go that far. Anyway, can I get my certification now?" Beck Soren smiles cheerfully, points in another direction, and says, "Oh, of course, this way, please." Sitting at the desk, Beck Soren slowly hands over a document and says, "This is your official certification. Congratulations." The male lead reaches out to take it and says, "Thanks a lot." Beck Soren teases him playfully, "I'm actually super jealous of you, you know." The male lead asks blankly, "Wait me, why?" Beck Soren replies, "For many reasons. I wish I could be as strong as you." Looking at her expression, the male lead thinks to himself, it's weird for Beck Soren to act this emotional. It's almost hard to believe. Wait, I've got nothing to do right now. Snapping out of his thoughts, the male lead makes a proposal. "Do you want to become a superhuman?" Beck Soren replies, "Of course, who wouldn't?" The male lead says seriously, "Then why don't you become my student? If you're willing, I promise that I can turn you into a superhuman." Soren asks skeptically, "Wait, what do you mean by that?" The male lead reaches his hand toward her and says, "You can trust me, because I can see your potential, Beck Soren." Soren blushes and exclaims, "Potential in me?" The male lead quickly replies, "Exactly, I can see you becoming an SSL rank warrior." "What do you mean?" After racking her brain for a moment, Beck Soren reaches out and takes the male lead's hand, smiling as she says, "Okay, because I feel like I can trust you." The male lead grins from ear to ear and says, "Now that's a smart move." But deep down a thought crosses his mind. It's time to train an SSL warrior. Then blushing slightly, he adds, "You don't need to pay any tuition. Once you become a superhuman, you can pay me back then." Beck Soren replies with a slightly sad look. "That sounds good, but I should let you know that I've failed to awaken before, even after taking specialized classes. It's not going to be easy even for someone like you." The male lead says with total confidence, "Don't sweat it. Just trust me." Then he thinks to himself, "Because I know everything about her awakening story. The celestial murder star, a trait that manifests the reincarnation of pure killing intent, staining the whole world in blood. This is the top-tier broken trait of the berserker Beck Soren. However, even though it grants massive experience points, through combat, it has a dangerous side effect. There's a high risk her sanity will be eroded, turning her into a psychopath, or a crazed killer obsessed with slaughter. Beck Soren has an awakening story that perfectly matches her trait." Snapping back to reality, the male lead says, "You'll need to prepare yourself." Beck Soren asks hesitantly, "Do I need to have a lot of money ready?" The male lead quickly says, "No. You'll need mental fortitude more than money." Interrupting their conversation, a blonde girl standing at a distance calls out, "Excuse me, Mr. Kim. Someone has requested a meeting with you. Could we head up to the 5th floor area?" The male lead turns around in surprise and invitation from the 5th floor. Afterward, the male lead follows the blonde girl up to the 5th floor via the elevator, with many questions swirling in his head. The male lead thinks to himself, the superhuman tower divides its floors by rank. Since I was called to the 5th floor, it means a rank 5 superhuman summoned me. I can't imagine who it could be unless... At that moment, the elevator stops on the 5th floor. The male lead steps out looking completely dazed. Suddenly, a voice calls out. Master, standing before him is Seol Woojin, the director of rank 5 superhuman security. Seeing him, the male lead says, "I had a hunch, but is it really you?" Woojin smiles happily and says, "Congratulations on getting your rank 3 certification, Master." He then walks over and throws his arm around the male lead's shoulder. "I'm so glad to see you here." The male lead replies awkwardly, Yeah, me too." But inside he's thinking, even considering his innate talent and his filthy rich family, isn't rank 5 a bit too fast? Woojin hands a gift box to the male lead and says with a grin, "I want you to have this. It's a congratulatory gift for you." The male lead asks in shock, "Huh? You really didn't have to." But inside he's hyped, thinking, "I seriously love having rich friends." Opening the box, the male lead can't believe his eyes. His eyes nearly pop out and he pouts his lips, thinking an item with mana properties. This is perfect for a mana-based warrior like me. He then pats Woojin's shoulder and says enthusiastically, I shouldn't turn down a gift from a friend, right? Thanks, man." Suddenly, Woojin's expression shifts. His face drops as he says, "Master, the truth is there's another reason I wanted to see you. Could you do me a favor?" The male lead asks in surprise. "A favor? Why so serious all of a sudden?" Jin looks up at the male lead with an endearing gaze and replies, "Would you be willing to help some friends of mine who are also infected with the holy fever like I was?" The male lead asks astonished, "What, they were also infected by the temple, meaning the father?" Woojin replies, "Yes. I have 4 friends who have been suffering since they were kids." The male lead grows concerned. He asks further, "Wait, 4 whole people are infected with the holy fever?" Then, as if suddenly remembering something, the male lead thinks to himself, "Hold on, does he mean those characters? If so, this is the perfect chance to make everything so much easier for me." Snapping out of his thoughts, the male lead immediately accepts the request. "Sure thing. I can't just ignore people who are in need of help." Woojin, looking like he just hit the jackpot, clasps his hands and says, "Thank you so much, Master Warrior." Then the male lead asks, "But can I meet them before starting the treatment?" Woojin replies instantly, "Of course I'll set up a meeting right away." The scene shifts to Woojin's house, where he introduces them, "Master, here they are." Upon seeing the familiar faces, the male lead thinks, "I knew it, I was right. They are the supporting characters for the Holy Knight Seol Woojin." Woojin adds, "Yes, they're all from upper-class families. They're essentially being held hostage by the temple, specifically under the father's orders." Returning to the present, the male lead asks sternly, "Let me get one thing straight. You were all baptized against your will, right?" They all shout in unison, "Yes, that's right. Can you really cure us?" The male lead points toward Woojin and explains, "My treatment is actually extremely painful. However, you will awaken just like Woojin here, if you can endure it. Do you have the resolve?" The group looks at each other skeptically for a moment. Then they all shout together, "We'll do whatever it takes to get rid of this. Holy fever, please help us." The male lead flashes a satisfied smile and says, "All right then. Let's get started. 1 week later at the same house, at this time, all 4 of them have a radiant golden power emanating from their entire bodies. Whoa, we actually managed to awaken. Seeing his 4 new students succeed, the male lead smiles happily and thinks, just as expected, they've all awakened. It was no problem, all thanks to their innate talent. Immediately after, all 4 of them surround and pull the male lead into a big hug. Some are crying, others are laughing. Thank you so much, Master. You're our literal lifesaver. The male lead happily replies, you all endured it so well. Great job, Master. Suddenly, voices of the parents standing behind him ring out, making the male lead jump and spin around. We're extremely grateful to you, they say, as they all bow simultaneously to show their sincere appreciation. Then one of them steps forward, points toward a table stacked with gift boxes, and says, we want to show our gratitude. Though it might not be much. The male lead scratches his head awkwardly on the outside. Oh, you guys really didn't have to. It's all thanks to your children's own potential after all. But inside, he's grinning like a total schemer, thinking, I'm profiting off the temple's mistakes, targeting only the rich families. This feels like playing a pay-to-win gotcha. While thinking this, he hastily tears open the gift boxes. Inside are high-value items, steel boots with extreme speed trait, a helmet with detection trait, battle greaves with rage trait, a shield with solid defense trait and holy water. The male lead can't stop grinning, thinking, these are exactly the traits and gear I need. Interrupting his train of thought, the voice of one of the parents says, we picked these gifts out together for you. We really hope you like them. The male lead spins around a full 180 degrees like a pro, bowing low with a sweet smile. I sincerely thank you for these wonderful gifts. After that, the male lead's gaze shifts toward 2 men wearing blue ties. He thinks time to collect the real reward. He then walks to a private corner of the house. One of the men in a blue tie approaches and asks, you said you wanted to have a quick word in private. The male lead quickly replies, yes, that's right. I have a favor to ask you, Mr. Representative of the Galaxy Store. The man in the blue tie smiles and replies, because of you, I'm willing to do anything. The male lead, acting as the teacher, says with a stern expression, I want to enter the underground gold mine, located beneath the Hanam branch of the Galaxy Store. The man in the tie jumps in panic, waving his hands. A gold mine, what? There's no such thing under our shopping center. The male lead quickly cuts him off. I'm talking about the one between the walls of sectors A1 and A2, on the 8th level, the basement area right below the parking lot. Are you sure it's not there? The man still firmly denies it. I don't know how you found out about that, but even if it's your request, I just can't make it happen. The male lead tries to plead with him. I promise. I won't say a single word about what I see there. The man's face suddenly drops as he thinks for a moment. Seeing that he's wavering, the male lead takes the chance to press further, just for one day. That's all I'm asking. In exchange, I'll keep the secret you want hidden. The scene shifts to the 8th floor parking lot, moving close to the axis between A1 and A2. After a bit of a struggle, the male lead and Baek Soren have finished breaking into the basement entrance. Baek Soren says in shock, I seriously can't believe there was a space hidden behind the wall. The male lead turns and grins. See? I told you this is where you'd have your awakening. You have no idea how hard I worked just to get us here. After taking a few steps inside, Baek Soren suddenly looks around nervously and asks again, but are we really going to train in a place as isolated as this? The male lead quickly turns and answers, of course. I guarantee it's going to be a blast.